To be honest, Diane Foxington from The Bad Guys is like Spompton from Deltarune Chapter 2. Because they both wear glasses, and they both make deals. And I think I remember the Fox girls say, "Now's your chance to redeem yourselves." Like how Spompton says, "Now's your chance to be a big shot." When Wolf talked to the Fox girl on the stairs, it reminded me of the original Spompton fight in Deltarune. And when the Fox girl was revealed to be the Crimson Paw, it reminded me of Spompton Neo. Instead of rescuing Wolf and the gang, I was expecting the Fox girl to fight them instead, and have the Wolf's soul turn yellow, and to able to shoot things, and Wolf and the gang will be in minecarts, and the Fox girl wants to take Wolf's body as a vessel, and says he doesn't need his friends. Wolf and the gang can either beat the Fox girl up, or break her strings, and then they get an item, and a shadow crystal, and also marmalade. Is also kinda like Queen, since they're both selfish. Could someone please do a YouTube poop music video of "Now's Your Chance to Be a Big Shot," where the Fox girl sings "Now's your chance to redeem yourselves," and also with sounds from the movie. Since MatPat did a Ness is Sans theory, I could also see him do a Diane Foxington is Spompton theory. So at the end of the day, the Fox girl from The Bad Guys is like a female version of Spompton from Deltarune.
Hello, and welcome to Too Many Movies, the podcast where we discuss DVDs, Blu-rays, and even the occasional VHS tape. I'm your host, Hal, and today I'm joined by YINSED. How are you doing, YINSED?
Oh, I'm YINSED? So that means I can say it?
Anyways, but yeah, this took a lot of peer pressure to get him to do this video, you know? Oh man. Anyways, I am YINSED.
Mm-hmm.
It is Hal's podcast.
Mm-hmm.
How are you doing today, Hal?
Man, I'm feeling pretty bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you ready to talk about The Bad Guys?
No, I'm actually ready to talk about life after people.
We're talking about a documentary first.
Yeah. Well, YINSED, I mean, look, I feel as though that we've had too many fun episodes, okay? It's time for us to learn some things, okay? It's time for us to get an education. We're a classy podcast now.
Yeah. Well, it seems like you have a lot more experience with this documentary than I do, so how about you go ahead and tell our listeners what Life After People is about.
So Life After People. So, okay, real talk. When I was a kid, I guess my parents were watching the History Channel or something like that, and I walked in and they were watching something, and they go, "Hey, we're watching this program called Life After People. Maybe you'd like it." And I was like, "Okay, sure, I'll check it out." And I watched it with them. And yeah, this is a part of my life that I realized I was kind of obsessed with this movie / show, because it was such a popular documentary on the History Channel that it spawned its own series, and it went on for a couple of seasons, where basically it's just a show about, hey, what happens to the earth if people were to just disappear? Like, not even just like, oh, what if we disappeared through like a war, or what if we all got abducted by aliens or something? Like, literally just what happens to the planet if everybody just stops existing, you know, because it's not really about like how we stopped existing. It's more so like what happens to the world after we're gone. And so it's just going over like a bunch of scenarios of like, oh, you know, if people stopped, you know, taking care of these buildings, or they stopped maintaining these factories or maintaining their houses, shit would go very wrong very fast. Like shit would just collapse in a matter of hundreds of years. Like some obviously we learned some structures are able to retain their likeness for a couple hundred years, but after a while because they're not being maintained, they just fall, and they're just gonna be dust in the earth after a certain point. So that's basically what the show is. Looking back, it's kind of like, what really was the point of this show / movie, where it's like, what happens if people stopped existing? Shit gets destroyed, and that's it. It was interesting, though. I think this really does go into depth of like, how important human ingenuity is. How like, not only did we build the Empire State Building, we keep maintaining it so then it keeps standing, more than 90 years later,
Yeah, I was actually looking up the TV series that came afterwards. Are you aware that they recently revived the show for its 3rd season this year in 2025?
Whoa, no, yeah. I had no idea. Literally, I had the movie on DVD. This is why I wanted to do it on this episode, because it's like, one, you were pestering me about the bad guys, and I'm like, all right, smartass, I raise you this. One of the most obscure things I can come up with, a Life After People documentary on DVD. So that was entirely random. Wow, they brought it back. I didn't know that.
Yeah, first time in over 15 years.
That's crazy.
The 2nd season was in 2010, and then the first episode of the 3rd season was July 14th, 2025. While we're on the topic of time,
yeah.
No, while we're on the topic of time, I think when you first told me about the basic premise of the documentary, I think the thing that I was most curious about going into it was the fact that it came out in 2008, not fully being aware of how it was going to go in terms of presenting this hypothetical scenario, because there are a lot of factors that can be taken into consideration when it comes to predicting the outcome of if something like this were to happen, whether it be new scientific research, and also not just the what, but also the why people would be asking this question in 2008 as opposed to 2025. But I know you said that you're nostalgic for this documentary, but I'm curious as to how you currently feel about it on this most recent rewatch.
I still really like it. I think it's obviously, when I was a kid, the thing I was obsessed with most was the skyscrapers falling down, because I'm just like, oh, cool, the buildings are falling. Because I was obsessed with Legos. I was obsessed with skyscrapers in general when I was that age. I just thought they were fucking cool. These like tall ass buildings. Like I was obsessed with the Empire State Building, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. I was obsessed with it's called the Willis Tower now, but it's the Sears Tower in Chicago, just because these are like unfathomably tall buildings, and the fact that they can stand so tall, and yet if you're not taking care of them after a certain point, like hundreds of years in the future, they could just fall and just fall to the mightiness of gravity,
Yeah. There is something that very much feels 2008 about the way that this documentary is presented. I can't fully pin what it is, but
it's
everything
the
about it, from it's the CG, even all the way down to like the sound design. Something about it feels, or the music, something about it feels very 2008, which is not a bad thing per se.
Very 2000s, like, very glitchy. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Because like 2008 is probably the furthest I can go back in terms of memories, where I could like get a good idea of the vibe of those sorts of, educational content that was coming out around that time. Because even though it was not this specific documentary per se, like Discovery Education was something that was very frequently on in elementary school, and we watched a lot of similar nature documentaries that were
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I remember being obsessed with stuff like the History Channel and Discovery Channel. Discovery Channel had Mythbusters. History Channel had a bunch of stuff. After a while, yeah, they started doing more stuff like Pawn Stars and American Pickers. And it's like, I don't really care for this. I care more about like the historical stuff and some of the sciencey. I feel like Life After People goes more into the science of like this kind of stuff, which I thought was very fascinating. I didn't retain much of it, but I still feel as though, even though, you know, as a kid, I wasn't really retaining a whole lot of it. I was just thinking the buildings were cool whenever they fell. But I still thought it was really cool, like the level of depth they went into with being like, hey, you know, on a molecular structure, metal can't last forever if you're not maintaining it. Like it can rust, it can do all this stuff. Like concrete can, you know, plants can grow in the concrete and just like have it expand and break it apart. Yeah, so it was just a really interesting a really interesting concept to learn a lot of things that, you know, we deal with in the real world anyway. You know, it's because it feels like, yeah, a lot of it is hypothetical, yes, but there is a lot of science behind the hypotheses they're coming up with.
Yeah, for sure. That being said, I will be totally transparent and say that it's not a bad documentary per se, but I do think that it didn't fully grip me or keep me engaged all the way through. And I think the reason being for that, so in the opening, we jump into this hypothetical world where we're told it's a possibility. Like you said, with no explanation, it just kind of happens. My issue with how this setup is done is how the ways that they're explained as to how, because they do try to imply that it is a possibility, they don't dedicate enough time to getting into the specifics about how we'd get to this point of theory. And based on the way that it's presented, it made it a little bit difficult for me to fully get on board with the premise until after the fact.
Right.
I do also kind of feel like it does damage the jumping forward in time framing device a little bit. Not by a whole lot, which we'll get to later. But I also think, like I said, when it comes to the 2008 vibes that it's giving off, for a documentary, it feels very cinematic in how it tries to present its information, and that can lead to certain bits feeling a bit over dramatized with how they're presented, like I said, with the score and sound design.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not a bad documentary by any means. It just didn't grip me all the way through. And I think when it comes to the stuff about the buildings per se, I'm not saying that it's not interesting information per se, but I do feel like, so the thing about documentaries, when it comes down to how you analyze them, it's a lot different than when it comes to narrative-driven features, because you're talking about everything and how it impacts the story.
Right.
And when you contrast that with expository text per se, I think it comes down to, is this presented in an engaging way? Presented in a way that justifies putting it on film. And on some level, I do think it does. But I also feel like like I said, with the buildings, I don't necessarily need to learn about that for an hour and 28 minutes. Because after a while, it kind of gets... I just kind of got bored in the second half, I'm going to be honest. Like, by the time we got to the 25-year mark, I just kind of mentally checked out.
Yeah, because when
I'm going to start working on some other stuff.
Yeah, when you get to a certain point, it's just like, what happens to the Golden Gate Bridge? It falls down. It's like, what? Oh, okay. Like, of course it falls down.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it takes a rocket science to figure out that if the stuff that humans are maintaining is not maintained by humans, then it is going to eventually...
Whoa, I didn't know that. Yeah, no, that's the thing with this documentary, and to an extension the series as well, where it's like, unless I don't think I would ever be interested in this if I didn't already grow up with it. You know, I look through the reviews of this on Letterboxd. There's not a lot of reviews for it on Letterboxd, and I'm not surprised as to why, because it really is. I mean, apparently this was one of the most popular documentaries on the History Channel at some point, and now barely anybody talks about it. Apparently it was popular enough to get a third season, I guess, but like, you know, I didn't know about that until literally just now. So like, obviously, even though it's popular enough, it's not quite reaching the levels of where someone like you or me are really obsessed with it, you know?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I will say though, there definitely were some, because it's a documentary. Did I tell you that I used to be a biology major because I was trying to work with animals?
I think you've talked about that, yeah, marine biology or something like that.
Yeah, I was trying to work with
And then I kind of just
but
pieced
it
that
was still,
together because, you know, you're obsessed with sharks and stuff like that. So it's like, oh yeah, no duh.
yeah. So I think the one piece of this documentary, this fictional world where everybody disappears that I was interested in were the environmental factors and
Yes.
how the environment, both in terms of the plant life and the animal life, would change as they disappeared. And I wrote some of it down. It's literally entitled "Fun Facts" under my notes.
Yeah. Perfect blow notes.
So one of the things where it talks about how I thought all the dog stuff was pretty interesting when it comes specifically to the domesticated canine species genus. Canis is the genus. I forget. I'm a little rusty on my taxidermy, but let me look it up real quick.
You're a real pain in the
Um,
canis.
Dog canine family. Canidae, because dogs and wolves, they're a part of the same family, but different
Right.
genes.
Yeah.
And so basically, what they talk about in the documentary is the concept of competition in biology, which is exactly what it sounds like, being animals competing for the same amount of resources, which in this case is food. Naturally, because dogs are more domesticated and they're so used to being fed and taken care of by humans, it raises the question of what if they were forced into a position where they had to adapt into the wild. And this is where you get into the concept of niche, which one of the interviewees describes it as in the interview, which is basically the roles that animals play in, well, organisms in general, because there's also like bacteria, but organisms play in maintaining the biome they inhabit. And with the case of dogs having to be in the wild, this brings up the concept of what's called scramble competition, which is basically where there's not enough resources for the amount of organisms that it needs to survive. It's like the basic concept of supply and demand. There's not enough supply, but there is a lot of demand. So that was something that I thought was pretty interesting towards the beginning.
Yeah. No, I mean, literally, I feel like they were saying, like, the majority of dogs that are left in homes would not make the week because they're so dependent on humans, which is very sad. But, you know, again, that's only in the hypothetical of like, oh, there's literally nobody left and we just abandon the dogs.
Yeah, that is a horrible thing to think about.
Yeah.
Another thing that I can give this documentary credit for, I like how each at a time that we're kept in the distance from when humans leave the earth. So like we've got 1 day, then 10 days, then a year, and then 20 years. I think those transitions are mostly pretty well handled. One example that I can think of off the top of my head is with the transition from 10 days to 1 year. I think it's a good time to introduce the concept of invasive species widening the scale after they focus on what in the first like 15 to 20 minutes per se feels very American, kept limited to the nation in terms of how it would impact per se. And then another thing is once we get to 20 years, they use an anecdote from that one city in Ukraine where something like this did happen. I forget what the city was called. Do you remember?
It wasn't Kiev, but it was I forget the name of the Ukrainian city, but they did that in the show too, where they would like go to different abandoned towns or posts or something like that around the world that are currently abandoned and kind of compare and contrast, be like, oh, this is what happens when this place was abandoned this many years ago, and this is what the buildings and the whole town looks like now. So yeah, that kind of like reinstates the research they're putting into the episode of any given episode, because like, I remember they would go to like, they went to some like abandoned western town out in Nevada. They went to, I think there was like some Norwegian town they went to. It's been years since I remember these, but like But yeah, the one they went to here was like, yeah, one of the towns that was abandoned during Chernobyl. And they were saying like, oh yeah, it's been 20 years since Chernobyl, and that was back in the late 2000s. It's now been 40 years since Chernobyl, but you know, that's besides the point.
Yeah, I actually had a question about you since you're someone, because I haven't watched the TV show that came afterwards, but as somebody who has seen both, do you have one that you prefer over the other, or are they about the same in terms of quality?
I feel like the show, because it was a show, even though they were shorter episodes than an hour and a half, I feel like you could go into more depth of like cities, because like in the movie they're kind of jumping all over the place. Oh, at the Hoover Dam, oh now we're in New York City, or across the world in Paris or something like that. Whereas like each individual episode would have like a couple of cities to focus on. So like you have, you know, one episode you focus on the structures in Boston. You have an episode that entirely focuses on New York City, but also St. Louis. You have an episode that focuses on New Orleans. You have an episode that focuses on Chicago or London or something like that. So like it feels like you could definitely go in depth with a lot of these structures, because there's a lot of structures, you know, a lot of famous structures around the world. So I feel like, I guess maybe the show, because there were some elements I guess I had misremembered from the show that I thought would be in the movie, and then I'm like, oh, this isn't in the movie at all, and I feel like I remember that from the show. So I feel like maybe I'd prefer the show on rewatch, but I mean, again, I haven't seen it in literally 15 years at this point, so who's to say?
Yeah, that's definitely understandable. I'm honestly curious to see how it differs, or if it differs in terms of setups with the revival that just came out last month, literally.
That would be interesting. I'd have to see, because I'm curious to see what it looks like in the year 2025, because yeah, like back in the day, like the show kept the same style as the movie, where you had like the gritty narrator and you had like the glitchy editing, and like the whole like, oh, 20 years after people, 500 years after people, like all that stuff. Like it kept that pretty intact.
Yeah. I also have another note that I wrote down just impromptu, like the sharks would probably be fine in this apocalyptic hellscape.
Well, yeah, because
the reason being for that is that if there's no change in the weather patterns per se, all of the aquatic life would probably remain fine. There's the same number of, I guess, maybe if there was an overpopulation of species that eat fish, then it might have been impacted. But even then, if we're talking specifically about the ocean and saltwater areas, they'd probably be fine.
Oh yeah, no, the sharks wouldn't even notice. You know, like they'd have less humans to eat, but like they don't really eat humans that often anyway. So again, they wouldn't notice.
Yeah, no, that's always been the thing that's on my mind ever since I was a kid. Like I remember whenever I would go to Sunday school and we got to like Noah's Ark in the Bible with the flood and everything, and I was like, sharks would probably be fine because they're just vibing in the ocean.
Yeah, what is the canonical explanation for what happens to sea creatures during Noah's Ark? Because they can't go on the boat.
I don't think there is one, but this is also when I found out how heavy rain can also decrease the amount of salt concentration in the ocean, which does impact the the sharks. But like single-digit age me was like, they're probably fine floating in the ocean.
They're fine. Yeah. No, I can understand someone watching this documentary and not really seeing what the significance of it is. That's just like, it's a documentary from the History Channel from the 2000s. Who cares? Which is I honestly predicted you wouldn't really get that much out of it. I'm glad you got something out of it, but obviously this is just something where it's like, had I not experienced it as a kid, I would imagine you would never, ever watch this ever if it wasn't for the podcast, you know?
Yeah, no. I kind of get it. It's not like it was like a worthless experience per se. It just wasn't really my thing. It just didn't click with me. Let's see. I liked the fun fact where we found out the wolf populations would multiply 6 times each year. Wink, wink. Nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
You ready to? I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
to how I'm just really excited.
Yeah. Well, is there anything
The
else
other
to talk
movie.
about with Life After People?
That's pretty much all I've got,
Yeah.
honestly.
It's a movie. It's a documentary. I'm quite nostalgic for it. I'm keeping the DVD because it's a part of my life that I'm very nostalgic for. The History Channel, before it kind of went off the rails, and I assume it's just obsessed with like Pawn Stars and Ancient Aliens or whatever the fuck. I actually have no idea what History Channel is like nowadays. I don't care, But there was a point in like the early 2010s where it started really obsessing over Pawn Stars and stuff like that. And it's like, all right, I'm out of here. I don't need to see that. I mean, I stopped watching regular cable television in the early 2010s anyway, because then I discovered the internet and Nostalgia Critic, and I'm like, wait, I can just watch this content for free, and it's made by people like me and not big studios or corporations. This rules. I'm going to watch this from now on. So
Yeah, why watch cable when you can watch some quality content from our good friend Doug?
exactly. No, that's exactly what I
Oh.
thought. I'm just like, this sucks. And then cable apparently is worse now than ever. So it's like, well, I made the right decision.
Yeah, no, I can only imagine that there's less of an incentive now, not just with YouTube, but also with like streaming and
Right.
other methods of,
Yeah.
of watching stuff that shall not be named here.
Right. Exactly. I think, I mean, look, I'm sure you can easily find a lot of the early History Channel stuff that I grew up watching somewhere online. So that's how I'll watch it. But I'm not going back to cable to watch it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right. I'm glad I got somebody to watch Life After People, and now we'll probably never watch it again. So that was cool.
You do have it on. You have a physical copy of it, correct?
Yeah, DVD. That's why we talked about it today.
Okay.
And that's why we were able to do this episode. So now let's completely forget about Life After People, because that's not what the genesis of this episode was for.
Nope.
We got loads to talk about now.
So, Hal,
Mm-hmm.
there was this new DreamWorks movie that came out a few weeks ago.
That's correct.
You remember what it's called?
It's called Furry Bait 2. Yeah, it's DreamWorks's The Bad Guys.
I thought you were gonna say Dogman, honestly, because you like that one way more than I did.
Well, not way more. I liked Dogman, but that's just because I don't know why I like Dogman. Dogman was
so
cute.
Weird.
Dogman was
so
cute.
Weird it's so weird because that almost never happens where you like a modern animated movie, let alone one in the mainstream.
I think because I saw what Dogman was, a movie for babies, and I'm like, yeah, it's a good movie for babies. Like, there's really not much to dissect from it, so I'm like, it's cute. It's whatever. For what it is, it's cute. I liked it. I'll probably not watch it very often, but I wouldn't mind watching it again. It's just not one I want to return to over and over again. It's cute for what it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my review of Dogman. Thanks for coming, folks. We have nothing else to talk about now.
Oh, Hal, you not only, in the spirit of the season, you not only watched The Bad Guys 2, you had also gone back to rewatch every single Bad Guys thing that had come out.
Yes.
Prior, which you didn't have to do that, but you did your part.
I mean,
and you also read book 1, which I'm very.
I read book 1 like a month ago. Yeah, no. So I was expecting this to be just a big Bad Guys mania. I mean, obviously we keep it focused on the Bad Guys 2, but I'm gonna title this the Bad Guys episode because I watched everything Bad Guys related purely so then I never have to watch anything Bad Guys related ever again. So
when the third movie comes out,
yeah, the third movie. Oh boy, I'll come up with something for the third movie. But
anyways, so I guess we can probably start out because we have talked about our thoughts on the original, to say the least, a little bit in that episode we did on the holiday special.
Yeah,
2023.
That was 2023 when the Christmas one came out. We talked about the Penguins Christmas special, but also the Bad Guys Christmas special because it was most recent. And I rewatched the Christmas special to see, is it as bad as I remember it? Yes. So, yeah.
Honestly, I think now that the second movie exists, I'm probably like souring over it a little bit. I do still think that for the most part, it's got like a fine little story for the characters, but it's not something that I'm particularly eager to defend the same way that I was in a pre-sequel world.
Right.
And I'm going to get to this later, but I'm also kind of cynical about how the two holiday specials might have influenced people's investment in the franchise, but that's for later. For now, let's focus on the first Bad Guys movie. You had rewatched it. On your first viewing, you had given it a 6 out of 10 on Letterboxd.
That is correct.
This most recent one, you had dropped it down to a 5. So what changed? I'm very curious.
What changed? I guess I changed. It's the same movie. It's just I feel like we've had it's the hype isn't there for me anymore. I feel like when I first watched the movie, I was still a little cynical over some things, but there were some things that I felt the movie did very, very well that ultimately I still enjoyed my time with it. And this, you got to remember, when I first watched the movie, that was back in early 2022. That was, what was the previous DreamWorks movie we had gotten? Boss Baby 2, like we'd gotten Boss Baby 2, Trolls World Tour. What the fuck did they release in 2019? Was that Abominable? Is that DreamWorks? I don't remember clearly, but there was like a couple DreamWorks releases where it's like, what are they even doing anymore? And so then when the Bad Guys came out, it's like, wow, a perfectly acceptable movie. This is huge. That I was really bought into the hype with a lot of people. I wasn't so much so that I was screaming, oh, we're in a DreamWorks Renaissance, because it's like it's one movie that came out, I didn't even say we were in a DreamWorks Renaissance when Last Wish came out. I loved Last Wish far more than the Bad Guys, but it was 2 movies. I wasn't going to be like, oh, we're at a new DreamWorks Renaissance. They're better than Pixar. Because guess what? My cynicism paid off. Immediately after Last Wish, we got Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken. So.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Ugh. But anyway, my point is, at the time, I was starved for another DreamWorks movie that I felt wasn't just baby shit like Boss Baby 2 or Trolls World Tour, where it's just like, why am I even watching this output anymore? Clearly they don't care for their adult fans. They only care about what they can make for babies and little kids, which is fine. That's not a bad thing. It's just clearly I shouldn't be watching these movies if this is all they're interested in. But then the Bad Guys, there was something there. I feel like the Bad Guys is kind of in this weird tonal inconsistency where I know it's meant for little kids, but it also has a ton of adult furry fans. And so it's kind of just in this weird, like, both at the same time kind of situation,
Yeah, I definitely can see what you mean by that. But going back to what you were saying about when it came out playing a factor into why you enjoyed it as much as you did, that I think for me was a big reason. Well, it was a reason, because I think the big reason is that, so it came out in 2022, then this was right before, literally like 2 weeks before I had turned 18 when I had first seen it. I was graduating in a few months, had no idea what I wanted to do upon doing so, and was just feeling very, like, I guess not to get too personal, but just kind of in a place where I was just like kind of using film as a lot more of a form of escapism. And then this movie that I had been looking forward to for a while, where it was like, oh, that's the Bad Guys. I remember seeing the books for that on the shelf whenever because my mom used to be a teacher, and she would always be, we'd always be at the book fair, and I would always see the books on there. I never bothered to reread them until after I had seen the movie. But my point is, when the movie had come out, I think the best way that I can explain it, in addition to that context, because it was over prior to this, while DreamWorks, so everything after Kung Fu Panda 3 and everything that's come out afterwards is, I consider to be a completely separate era per se. The reason being for that is that Universal, the same company that owns Illumination, they own both company. They had bought the company after they had filed for bankruptcy. And I feel like when you look back at a lot of the DreamWorks films that had come out during that time, and even now to this day, you can sort of see some of Illumination's most obnoxious elements seeping their way into some of their films. The most noteworthy one, in my opinion, being the stronger emphasis on franchises. And that's not necessarily to say that DreamWorks wasn't doing franchises prior to this, but there wasn't as strong of an emphasis. Like right now, you've got Shrek 5, you've got films like Kung Fu Panda 4. Even in the case of the live action How to Train Your Dragon movie, I think there's a very strong case as to that being done because of Universal's trying to stretch the franchise out into future installments to keep making money off of it. But they can't do that with the way that the third movie ended, even though I didn't really love it. It's nonetheless very very much conclusive in terms of how it ends, where there's not really ambiguity in terms of if it can keep going forward without it very much feeling cynical. But with that context of where DreamWorks was and them not having at that point had a movie that I really liked in over 6 years, because prior to that the only one that I had liked was Kung Fu Panda 3, like I said. But the movie, in addition to that context, when it came out, it reminded me why my taste in media is what it is, in terms of what it is as an animated movie, what it is as a heist movie, what it is about a story about villain protagonists, what it is about an anthro movie. There's just a lot of things about it that just hit me personally in a lot of ways. And I do very much recognize that it's not for everyone, but I do think that my rationale for it being it, there's two factors that I take into consideration when it comes down to whenever people ask me, why do you like this movie as much as you do? The first of which is being obviously the characters. I think they have very strong chemistry with each other. I love their physical comedy. I love their voices. I love their interactions with each other. I think that I've talked about this before, but it's one of those movies where just the faces that they make are able to make me laugh, which not very many movies are able to do that, but I just really love the character designs, and I think that they've all got great chemistry with each other. It's a really fun team dynamic. I think they all get a lot of time to shine as a group in the first movie. And then the second reason why I like it, because I feel like if you just are looking at the first 2/3 per se, where it seems like they're going to play a story about villains turning good fairly straightforwardly, I would probably feel the same way that you do about it overall. And I will always cite the final act of this movie as being the reason for why I hold it in such high regard. One is the attention to detail in the climax. How a lot of the loose ends are well built up to. There's a lot of payoff from a lot of small details and running gags throughout the film that I appreciate. But the second reason, and this is kind of tying into the second movie, is I think in terms of a story about the way that society can influence how people move about the world, the fact that it ends with them turning themselves in, I think that it makes that message and their turn to the light feel a lot more authentic. And it also really heightens the message about the idea that if society is going to judge you on the basis of things outside of your control, then it doesn't matter. What does matter, though, is your actual character. And that being the emphasis on their arc and that ending, rather than them just being accepted by society to open arms. Not only do I think that is a really strong message, I also think that it provides a lot of interesting ground for serialized storytelling, where it's where do we go from here now that we are trying to live our lives without society being on our side.
Hmm.
That was a lot.
It was a lot. And you know what? the whole like, okay, they turn themselves in at the end. I would agree with that because I think that is like a noble thing for the characters to make that decision. I raise you, Diane Foxington.
Well, no, because I'm actually curious about that because I feel like they. I was curious if that issue would kind of be rectified for you following the second movie because they place a lot of emphasis on her identity as the Crimson Paw.
Yeah.
This one they don't identify.
So
they don't abandon it.
Yeah, but that's something that the second movie deals with. The first movie, you know, in a vacuum, I just don't. I feel as though Diane Foxington really throws a fucking wrench in that ideology with the first movie specifically. Yeah, the second movie, that's an entirely different thing, though. That's why I don't really take into account when watching the first movie. And it's not even because, like, yeah, I think the characters are fine. I don't hate any of them. I would say my least favorite is still Diane Foxington. And yeah, but there's like several reasons as to why she's my least favorite character in the movie. You know, I think, yeah, the whole aspect of like, she's the governor, but she was also the former Crimson Paw, and she never faces judgment for that. Again, second movie she does. First movie, though, she never does. And so that kind of makes the whole bad guy's sacrifice kind of worthless in my eyes, because it's like, okay, yeah, they get to, but how come she gets to run off scot-free? I never understood why that was okay.
Yeah, even because on a rewatch, I also had my fair share of issues. Not to the point where it's like I hold the movie in any major, like for the most part, I do still really enjoy it a lot. It's one of my favorites. Definitely one of my favorites of this era and also DreamWorks movies in general. But even I have to admit that specific plot line with her as the Crimson Paw, it's kind of good in relation to Wolf's arc in terms of the incentive that turns into the light, but I think her actual identity as the Crimson Paw, it's a fairly underdeveloped aspect of the story in that first film, and I wish more time was spent on it.
Yeah, or she also gets, you know, caught. Like, I literally, I think it's just if she gets caught in the first movie, I wouldn't care, because it's like, okay, they're at least being consistent about it, but they're really not. Like, that's one of my biggest issues with this character. Another one is because it's incredibly obvious what she's meant to be, and that is, you know, eye candy for the furries. It's really, really obvious, and it's really kind of annoying after a while.
Yeah, no, because I remember when I had shown you her book design, because I prefer the book design too. Honestly, I prefer the book design for most of the characters.
Right.
One exception on that later. My point is, you were like, this is so much better than generic furry bait.
Yeah.
And like the thing is, like, I'm not a thing. I don't have a thing for Diane. I think I like her chemistry with Wolf, but like I'm not into her like that per se.
No, I think, well, because like it's not even just in the character design. Like, yeah, you have this fox, and she has on slim wear, and she's always in these like either business suits or like these slim ninja outfits. It's just like, oh my god, she has the fucking eyebrow she has like an eyebrow piercing, which is so stupid. But also just in the way she acts, where she's like this too cool for school, foxy kind of character. And literally, like, you know, the thing is, it's just like, oh, she's the governor, she's the strong independent woman character, but then she's also the world's greatest criminal. Like, the bad guys can't be the greatest criminals. Like, no, she needs to be the greatest, but she's also the one that decided to be the goodest character as well, so she can be both at the same time. It's like, whoa, we're reaching fan fiction levels here. Like, what are we doing with this character? You know, so it's not even just like the visuals that I know loads of furries find attractive. It's also the writing aspect of like, oh, we just gotta make this like really cool sexy fox character, and she's so kick-ass, and like, you know, just these nerds writing out this fan fiction-y furry character. It's so obnoxious that this kind of character is in a kid's movie. It's like, no kid is gonna know, but I know there's some 10-year-old watching this being like, wow, I really like this Diane Foxington character, and I can't figure out why. Like, someday they'll figure out why, but not right now.
Yeah, she is definitely, again, I like her chemistry with Wolf, but she has never particularly been a standout to me in terms of why I like this movie. And most of it comes from the main cast
Yeah.
and also the animation.
The animation is very good. No, it is. Like, unironically, I know the whole animation is very good thing has kind of run its course, and it is kind of obnoxious to say, but it's true. Like, the animation is the highlight of this movie, and the second movie even so. Not so much the shorts and the specials. Like, that's where the animation really loses everything.
I feel like the two short films, like the really short films, talking about Maraschino, Ruby, and Little Lies and Alibis, they still have
because that's the movies. Whereas like Netflix took over the Halloween and Christmas specials, and you're just like, oh no, it's unfortunate.
See, I'm always gonna be bitter about that because no other DreamWorks franchise, not even Boss Baby, has this problem with the shows, maybe, but not with the actual specials. Like, they still had a budget behind it. It's like, why is it that this franchise is the only thing?
When I watched the Kung Fu Panda specials for the Kung Fu Panda episode, I'm like, oh, the animation's actually still really good on these. Even the ones that change styles, like I forget which one it was. I think it was the one with Master Croc where it's like technically 2D. Like, that looked awesome. And that was just for a special. It was from like the fucking Emoji Movie director. I think that's the one. I don't know. It's been a year since I watched them. Yeah, that was awesome. That had an awesome animation. Whereas again, like this, it just looks horrible. The fucking Christmas special and Halloween special. It's just, like even just the way the characters move, it's so wrong. It's like, oh, they really farted this out after a couple of months rather than the time they took in the movies. I get it, differences in budgets, but like, again, if the Kung Fu Panda specials on a much lower budget than the movies were able to have really good animation, I don't see what the excuse is with this one.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
But
I will say, though, I'm glad that we're both in agreement that even though you don't like either of them, I'm glad you were in agreement that the Halloween special is the worst of the two.
I mean, well, here's the thing. When I was watching, so when I was streaming both the movies, they're both on Netflix, so I'm like, oh, I'll just watch them on Netflix. And they were very laggy when streaming them in VC. And so I'm like, all right, I guess I'll find a pirate site. And I found them on a pirate site, and they ran much better. But the thing is, they would like buffer, and then they would skip certain like a couple of seconds, and so we kind of watched them in half the time because the buffering kept skipping ahead. So it's like I didn't hear the punchline of certain scenes, but I'm like, I'm not fucking going back. I don't care. It's the fucking Bad Guys Christmas and Halloween specials. I don't give a shit. But yeah, from the Halloween special, I could tell it's like, oh, surprise, we pranked you. Oh, well, I knew about the prank the whole time, so I pranked you. Oh, but I knew about the prank the whole time. It's like, oh my god, shut up. Fuck this.
The first time I can really confidently say that one of their heists are actively, like, this is just so contrived to the point where it actively kind of annoyed me. And see, the thing about it is that with the Christmas special, to somebody who is a fan of the franchise, I can say, if you like the movie for things outside of the animation, if the animation is not the only thing you enjoy about the original, I can say that you might get something out of this. I cannot say that about the Halloween special at all.
No.
I think it wastes such an interesting idea, not necessarily interesting, but like a cool idea for a villain. I think it wastes the concept of having these characters now do that during Halloween. Mr. Shark gets 4 costumes in the Christmas special, but 0 in the Halloween special, and that's just so frustrating because he should be so enthusiastic about this holiday because that's like one of the quintessential aspects of his character. He loves disguises. Why would you just have him do the everything mustache?
Yeah, and then
in the opening, they have a scene where it's like they're talking about all the things that the guys do, and it says disguises while Shark's on screen, but it's just him while he's invisible. And it's like, first of all, that is not a disguise. Second of all, did you really not have enough budget where you could give him something, some kind of shirt, some kind of like hat, something he could wear that could like better represent this? Nothing in the Halloween special.
Yeah. Well, because like the other thing that really bothers me is the voice acting. Like the voice acting in the movies, I I have favorites more than others. Like I mean, I don't even really hate Aquafina in these movies, which is huge, by the way. The fact that I don't hate Aquafina in a voice role. But I think the voice actors do a fine job at representing their characters in the movies. Whereas in the specials, it's so obvious they just hired like Canadian voice actors. Like Mr. Wolf, the guy who plays Mr. Wolf, is so obviously this Canadian guy that they just hired, who I guess did like background voices for the first movie, so that's why he's credited for both. But he's just like, "Hey, I'm Mr. Wolf, eh? Yeah, it's us, the bad guys." I'm like, "Oh, for crying out loud!" He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." It's like, it's so obvious they're just Canadian actors. Fucking Mr. Shark sounds nothing like Craig Robinson. They just hired the only black voice actor in Canada to voice him. So it's so obvious.
I think they're doing their best.
Sure.
To impersonate the characters.
But their best sucks.
Chris Diamond is super close. I still think he's good as he's probably the best in terms of replicating Marin in terms of the voice. But everyone else, it's like they're fine, but it's definitely not a standout, and they definitely don't sound like any of their original voice actors.
So you have some Asian Canadian lady just being like, "Hey, I'm Aquafina, normies." Ugh. Oh, it sucks. So I
see. Have I beaten the allegations that I will look at everything that comes out of this franchise uncritically with the Halloween special? Because you've got to understand, that is not the case. I have standards. I'm not just going to be uncritical.
It's interesting because you look at the top reviews for both movies, both the feature-length movies, and people love these movies, and that's great. And then you look at the top reviews of both specials, and people fucking hate them. They're just like, "This isn't what I fell in love with." It's like, no, it's not.
No, and then everyone was trying to tell me, like, well, not everyone was trying to tell me, but I was seeing everywhere that the Halloween special where it's like, it's bad, but it's better than the Christmas special. And I'm like, no, it is not. It is so much worse in every possible way, both from a writing standpoint. Animation-wise, it's the same.
Yeah.
But, like, writing-wise, it is so much worse.
I hate both equally. I will never watch them ever again.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. Maybe like on like a good day, I could do the Christmas special. But like even then, it's like now that the second movie exists and we've got two short films that do look nice that I actually enjoy, do I really have a reason to?
Plus,
like, I'm not.
Plus, there's like, Plus, there's like millions of other Christmas and Halloween specials I'd sooner rewatch than these two. So yeah. Like, trust me, Christmas and Halloween specials are my bread and butter. Like, even the bad ones, like, I've seen them. I think they're bad. I'm going to move on, though, and revisit the ones I actually have passion for.
Yeah, for sure. Anyways, here's my second question since we're on the topic of the short films.
Mm-hmm.
So you have both of those at 6 out of 10s, which means I'm curious as to which one do you think is better, thereby making it your favorite piece of Bad Guys content.
Oh boy, I don't know. I didn't want to rewatch Little Lies and Alibis because I've seen that twice already, and I figured if I watched it a third time, I'd probably lower it to a half star just because of how annoyed I'd be. So I saved you the anguish in that, but. I don't know. I don't really feel like I can rank anything Bad Guys related because at this point, I just don't care. I really just don't have it in me to really care that much about it where I can definitely... Because like I don't even really think... Yeah, you're saying like I hate the Halloween special the most. I honestly don't really think I can come up with a legitimate reason as to why I think it's the worst. You could honestly interchange the Christmas and Halloween special in my mind, and it probably would remain about the same. Like, so it's really hard for me to really come up with a distinct, like an actual favorite piece of Bad Guys media, like that I would consider the top, because I really can't, even though I have them rated a 6 out of 10, I honestly can't come up with an actual favorite, you know?
Yep, I completely understand. You're just not as invested in the in the lore. You're not as passionate as I am.
Yeah,
which is fine.
I
am
really
not r/Shape Realist. I am perfectly capable That's the great thing, Cal. There's
Yeah.
one thing I've learned is that whenever we talk about animation on here and DreamWorks specifically, we are going to be having a lot of disagreements
Yeah.
on stuff, but it's the good kind of disagreement.
Right,
know?
of course. I'm glad that you're passionate for this. I'm not glad that r/Jay Frillis is passionate for these movies because they handled it in the worst way.
And then
Yeah.
there's passionate, and then they're straight up harassing.
Yeah,
people.
they handled it in the worst way possible. That's what really blew my mind. Because, like, I thought The Bad Guys was fine when I first watched it. But then, to be fair, I watched it opening weekend in 2022, so I didn't know what the general consensus was. I mean, I would see people be like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. But, like, you know, you see that with every movie that comes out. Oh, it's the greatest movie ever. Yeah, I'm sure you're going to be saying that a week from now. But, like, people were, like, obsessed with it to the point that they're just like, why hasn't James said anything about it? Why hasn't James said anything about it? Like, blah, 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 blah. It's like, why do you care? Like, what is he going to say that, or like, what is he going to say that's really gonna have an impact on you? Clearly he did say something that had a monumental impact on a lot of people, and that was the animation is very good, 5 out of 10, and people lost their shit where they're just like, no, this isn't good enough. Why? Like, what more is there need to be said? I think it explains it pretty well.
That's kind of the weirdest thing about this whole entire phenomenon. It's like,
Yeah,
if he had given it a positive score, then like at least I'd understand like, oh, you want your favorite YouTuber to validate your opinion. But it's like, if he makes a video about why he doesn't like this movie that y'all like, only for y'all to just get angry at him for elaborating his points, like, I don't understand what y'all would get out of him doing
right.
that. Like, I really don't.
Well, I don't understand why we're mad at him for not liking it as much as other people are. It's like, why does that have any effect on why you like it? You know, because it's like, that tells me that the people who are mad that he didn't like it are clearly very self-conscious about the fact that they like it, and they're not very confident in their own thoughts on the movie. So it's like, okay, him saying he doesn't like it really kind of affects you in that way. Maybe you as an individual should probably rethink about what your actual thoughts on the movie are. It's like, no, I'm deciding to just get mad and angry and yell at him because he didn't rate it correctly, as if there's a correct rating to give the movie. You know, it's just bizarre to me, you know, because I was thinking about this. I tried to put this in perspective. So at the time of us recording right now, James has not made a video on The Dark Crystal, let alone actually watch The Dark Crystal. The Dark Crystal being my absolute favorite movie of all time, the movie that means the most to me when it comes to cinema and film and all that. Like, The Dark Crystal is number one in my mind. And he's never watched it. He's never made a video about it. He's never talked about it in any way. I think one time he said, like, hey, I'm reading this Jim Henson biography, and they mentioned The Dark Crystal. And that is the one time I've ever heard James mention The Dark Crystal in conversation. It's like, he's never done anything with it, and I'm not really torn up about it. I don't care, you know? And I'm not saying that as like, oh, I don't care. Maybe if I say I don't care, maybe he'll do a video on it. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It's like, no, he could go the rest of his life, never watch the movie, and I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. I don't care that he hasn't watched it, you know? I'd rather he discover it on his own, and quite frankly, he'd probably hate it. Or maybe he'll love it. I don't know what he'll think about it. I genuinely don't know, and I genuinely don't care if he likes it or not, because that's not going to change what I think about the movie.
Yes, I 100% agree. And there's a semi-related tangent that, because we were talking about this in the Discord server a few days, like before the movie had come out, I think. We were basically talking about, you know, the whole animation, the cinema crowd, and how a lot of them fit into that category.
Yeah.
I think people really needs to stop acknowledging that these animated movies that you enjoy, or you think are well written, or you think have good themes, are still for kids, as an insult. Because that's not actually doing anything to destigmatize being an adult animation fan if you're treating good writing or deep themes or really any quality technical aspect as being synonymous with adult per se. Like, just enjoy the thing per se, and just acknowledge that it's for kids. Like, it's not a big deal.
No.
It's just not a big deal. Like, and I don't understand why people treat, oh, this is a kid's movie as some kind of personal attack. Like, no,
Right.
It's got good writing. That makes it adult. And it's like, so you're saying that everything for kids is just destined to be like poorly written. It's like,
right. Yeah.
When it comes to like I said, the basic principle of like animation being taken seriously as a medium of entertainment, as a medium of film, I do agree with that core idea. But I also think that it should be treated the same way that we treat live action, the same way saying, no, not all animated movies per se are going to be good, and not all of them are going to be bad. It's just a medium that we can judge the same way that we do with live action, you know? It doesn't have to just be, like you said, we're kind of in the age of hyperbole where it's not enough to just say, I really enjoyed this kids movie, which that is how I feel about The Bad Guys. I absolutely love it. It is probably my personal favorite franchise of all time. And I would never try to frame it as some sort of high art form or groundbreaking piece of cinema, because it's not that. It's just a franchise that means a lot to me personally. And I also have a strong case for why I think it's well written and a good story about villains turning into heroes. And that's the case with both movies. And it's okay to just acknowledge that instead of being like, this is the peak of film and it is a systemic injustice that it did not get nominated for like 80 Oscars. And it's like, that was a lot again.
Well,
just so frustrated with these people. And I need to be clear. I am not offended at you or anyone else in our friend group who does not care for this franchise. I 100% get it. I am totally fine.
Yeah. Well, because like,
I'm not insecure. I'm
not insecure.
Satisfied. I'm comfortable with my own personal opinion.
Yeah. I'm so not insecure. I'm really secure about my opinion. No, I'm kidding. No, like I truly thinking about the animation as cinema crowd, I've really never understood this hype they give animation specifically, because you know, when I think of my favorite animated films, I think of stuff like The Incredibles or Spider-Verse. And The Incredibles, I would say, is my all-time favorite animated film. Not because it's animated, but because it's The Incredibles. Because it has so much working for it, and it just so happens to be animated. So I've never understood this, like, idea of separating animation when it's like, aren't you trying to hype animation as being just as valid? It's like, yeah, of course it's just as valid. But like, I feel like if you try and separate it, that all of a sudden gives its like, that kind of like makes the arguments against it kind of a little more valid. And it's like, no, that's ridiculous. Like, we shouldn't be judging these movies any differently if you want animation to be taken more seriously. You know, it's like, and also, but yeah, it also doesn't help that like, oh, your arguments stem from using movies like The Bad Guys and the Mario movie. And yeah, there's very clear major differences between something like The Bad Guys and Mario, but I don't know. I feel like really, like, why are we hyping these up when it's The Bad Guys and Mario? It's just, it gets absurd after a while where it honestly does leave me thinking like one of those animation hating adults where it's just like all animation is for babies. Like, this is why I joke like that, because it's so ridiculous. The shit I see people treat animated movies like, you know?
Yeah, you also have to take into account that a lot of these people only watch movies from what I would consider to be the big five, that being Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks, Illumination, and Sony, and nothing else. Just mainstream American animation, and they treat this. And I'm not saying that, again, like you said with The Incredibles, I feel the same way about that movie. You've got films like that, Wall-E, you've got Fantastic Mr. Fox. Like, these are all movies that are very accessible to the public.
Yeah.
But it's not because they're like, they just happen to fill that niche.
Yeah.
But that cannot be, I struggle to understand how you can really authentically call yourself a true fan of animation if you're just limiting it to stuff that comes out from the big corporations and absolutely nothing else.
Yeah. And I feel like that can also be a little difficult, because then it's like, okay, because it's not a bad thing if you only consume that kind of stuff. But if, it does become a bad thing if you are considering yourself a champion of animation, of like diverse animation, especially. It's like, no. Like, there's nothing wrong with liking the Mario movie, But if you're somebody who's considering yourself a true cinephile, a true animation fan, somebody who appreciates the art form of animation, and the best argument you can come up with it is the Mario movie, yeah, I'm sorry, I can't side with you on that. That is so unbelievably lame.
Yep, I 100% agree.
So anyway, animation is not cinema. It's for babies. And you're wrong for liking these movies.
Can we talk about the second movie now, pal? Because I don't want to talk about this people anymore. I just want to talk about why I love this movie so much.
Bad Guys 2.
Okay.
So honestly, yes, I gave it the similar score as the first one, 5 out of 10. That doesn't mean I hate the movie. That doesn't mean I hate both movies. I think they're fine. I just can't really say they're ones that I really connect with on an emotional level. So it's just like, yeah, they're fine. You know, they're about the same in terms of quality for me. I really can't come up with any reasons to hate them, but I can't really come up with any reasons to love them. Like, that's why I consider them very middle of the road for me.
Here is what I'll say in regards to, because the thing that I was most curious about going into it was, do I think that people will like this one who didn't like the first one will like it more than the first? And as somebody who is one of the original's biggest
Glazers,
defenders, yeah, I do think that this one is better than the original, even though the margin of that quality is not as wide as other people. But the way that I see it is, if your biggest problem with the movie is you thought the story was too predictable or cliche, I think you'll have a better than time with this one. If your problem with the movie is the characters, you not really be invested in them, then I think you'll probably feel around the same. Because a lot of the elements that I do think make this one so strong, they do carry over from the original. Like, obviously, the animation is very good.
Oh yeah, no, the animation. There's a lot of moments where it's just like, oh, I see, we're kind of amping it up a little. We're going a little crazier with the animation, you know, especially in like reaction. There's certain reaction shots where it's like the characters turn all 2D and they get like the anime eyes and stuff like that. It's like, okay, I see, we're trying something a little different here than the first movie, or at least we're making the influences a little more obvious, I should say, that there too.
Yeah, the way that I described it in my review is making the first film feel smaller in all the right ways. And I think that that definitely shines in the animation, which I think that saying that it is an improvement over the original feels like the wrong word. I would describe it more as an evolution, because the original movie's animation, it still holds up.
Yeah.
But they're also, in the second one, they're doing a lot of new things, whether that be in the form of new locations, a lot more varied use of color. That's something that I noticed a lot, like particularly with the wrestling arena. I was like, yeah.
Well, the wrestling arena was probably my favorite sequence, where I'm just like, oh, wow, this is kind of cool. Like, this actually does feel like it's doing things better than the first movie. And honestly, if the whole movie was like that, yeah, I'd probably love it a lot more.
I liked the wrestling scene a lot too, Hal. We'll get to that in a bit.
Okay, we're not there yet? Okay. Okay.
My point is, the thing that I like is that there's actual fight scenes. Like, we get a lot of really good hand-to-hand combat in this one, and it also solidifies why I love these character designs so much, because of how fluid they are. Like again, with a lot of the reaction shots they have during the fight scenes. The one that I think that off the top of my head are that one bridge scene where Diane is fighting with the girls. And I also like the final battle that Wolfie has with Kitty a lot. Those are the two ones that come to mind in terms of hand-to-hand combat. And again, the wrestling scene. I love the choreography because of how fluid the characters' movements are. I think it just gives it this really nice edge to it that I enjoy. And I really hope that we get more of it in any future installments that we might get. I'm glad that they included that.
You say hand-to-hand combat, but it's actually paw-to-paw combat.
Right. Haha. Very funny.
Anyway.
It undoubtedly feels like a bigger film than the first because of how much wider the scope of the story is, how the characters have to travel through all of these unique locations because they're on the run throughout most of the.
It feels like the first one was a success for DreamWorks, and so then they gave the filmmakers a lot more freedom with this one, where they're just like, "Hey, you can amp up the animation budget, you can have them go to bigger places." It's like, yeah, in that regard, yeah, I can see it being an evolution of the first movie.
Yeah, I just think that it looks great. Something that I should probably mention. So, I am not somebody who normally gets emotional, really in general for movies, but especially when they're not explicitly sad ones.
Mm-hmm.
And something else that I wanted to mention about the both movies that I think I've kind of neglected to bring up more than it deserves is Daniel Pemberton's score. He is the same one who composed the Spider-Verse trilogy, and ironically enough, the last time that a movie, so there were 2 times in the theater where it was with Robin, Jess, and James that I had seen it. Best nights of my life. And again, I do think that my theatrical experience on some levels is getting me a bit of bias because it was a really good theatrical experience.
Yeah.
We had a great audience.
Yeah.
We were a few minutes late because we had gone to Wawa's, but they took forever to get me and Jess's orders ready.
Fucking Wawa. Well, that's the thing is, like, sometimes when you watch something with friends or you watch something with people, it can very much greatly improve the experience. Like, I mean, this is a very random comparison, but years ago, it was me, William, James, and a bunch of us were in a call, and we watched Rise of Gru together. And honestly, Rise of Gru probably sucks. I don't remember anything about it, but that was a great wheel night, let me tell you. Just all of us just watching the Rise of Gru together. I mean, just watching that with William was great because that is the exact opposite kind of movie you'd expect William to watch. And so to have him just like freak out for most of it was great. But like, is my score of Rise of Gru accurate nowadays? I have no idea because I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah, the experience can sometimes trump the. I think the easiest example that I point to is with Rise of Skywalker. I hate that movie, but the actual theatrical experience itself, it was a really good one because we had watched it on Christmas, the night of Christmas Day. I collected minifigures back then, and I had lined them all up. We'd gone to this really fancy theater. You know how they have like those ones that are half theater, half restaurant?
Oh yeah, dude, I miss Chunkies. It's so sad.
I had lined them all up on my little desk, waiting for the movie. And it's interesting because I always cite that movie for the thing that kind of got me kickstarted my film critic journey because it made me realize, wait a minute, sometimes movies can be bad. Very bad.
I mean, if any movie's going to convince people at that age, yeah, Rise of Skywalker is the perfect one because you could be like, oh, it can be so awful at times.
Going back to my theatrical experience with The Bad Guys, so I cried twice in the theater for a particularly long time, but I was just they weren't sad tears per se, they were just more so excited, overwhelmed, because I was just...
Tears of joy.
You've seen me these past few months, you know how much I've anticipated it. You can imagine that it would elicit that kind of reaction.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure it was huge, yeah.
Yeah, no, the first time it was during the opening credits because I was like, oh my gosh, this is really happening. But I kind of like pulled myself together pretty quickly because it's The Bad Guys. It's not meant to be sad. It's fun. That's what I really love about these movies. They're so much fun because of how much I enjoy the characters. But the second time, it was when they're first going on the rocket ship. And you've got that scene where you've got the police chief taking them up there and they're going to the rocket. And then you get Daniel Pemberton's score, hearing it in that immersive environment. It just got me really emotional and how uplifting it felt. And again, going back to Spider-Verse, the last time that a movie elicited that kind of reaction out of me with that specific context was probably the A Leap of Faith scene. Something that's also meant to be uplifting and not explicitly sad, but the way that it's presented, it just gets you in really emotional in how beautiful it is. And
I like the part when they jumped on the rocket and Shark said, "What's up, Danger?"
Oh man, what if I made an AMV of that?
I mean, if anyone's gonna make an AMV of it, it's you. So
No. How about for Spider-Verse, I do one of the song that Piranha sings in the first one.
I mean, again, if anyone's gonna do that, it's you. So you better strike that iron while it's hot, there, dude.
But yeah, the animation, the character designs, the eyes. That's the thing that I think really makes these. These are actually my favorite in all of media, and it's the eyes. They're infectious to just watch them change expressions, what they do. Their faces, when I say that I love the animation and these character designs so much, I really mean it, and I can gush about it for
there's
days.
There's this really specific moment I pointed out where it's at the beginning when they're robbing that billionaire character, and Mr. Wolf approaches him and starts like snarling and like thrashing at him, and I was just like, oh wow, some furries animating this must have gotten really hard, because that was like, I mean, again, it's great animation. But I can't help but think like, oh, I know why they're animating it like this. Because it's like you have this hot wolf character thrashing at you. Like, that's got to do something for somebody.
Yeah. While we're on the topic of the furries, because I was spending a lot of time. The only reason I still have my Twitter account up was literally to get all the possible updates on trailers, behind the scenes content, any official clips that came out. And it was absolutely worth it. I don't normally follow gimmick accounts, but there were a lot that helped me out in terms of getting all of that, staying up to date on the movie. And there's this one there's two edits that they did, and these are on the official DreamWorks accounts, with things that are effectively, there are those TikTok edits of specific characters in movies where it'll just be like montages of different scenes of them that are very much trying to be kind of erotic per se, or like not even explicitly that, but just
but like I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine, because I mean, like, yeah, there's so many characters out there that I'm sure do something for somebody. Like, you can't escape it. You can't just be like,
trust me now. I am very aware. But anyways, back to Wolf and Diane. There's two edits of them like that on the official DreamWorks account. Not to mention that part of the marketing campaign was a guy in what's basically a fursuit dressed up as Mr. Wolf to help promote the movie. My number one thought was, I can't be the only one that I can't think of any other instance of a mainstream animated movie indulging in this side of their audience quite like this one.
Yeah, the closest.
They straight up say thirst trap in the caption. Let me see if I can
that upsets me so much. Oh, fuck.
It's done just enough to where it's like not explicit to the point where kids will it's tiptoeing right up to the edge.
Right, it's getting to the edge. I can't say like kids watching this is bad. Like, yeah, kids are gonna watch that Mr. Wolf scene, they're not going to be like, oh, this is like, it's not damaging the kids. I'm sure one or two are going to be like, oh, this is doing something to me, but like all kids, I can't imagine that. But so that's why I can't just be like, oh, this is morally reprehensible. It's not. I just don't like it. I think it's gross, but like, it's not morally reprehensible. Like, it's just dumb furries doing dumb furry things at the end of the day. But still, like, thirst trap.
I'm very curious to see if this becomes the new norm, because you have to understand, there's another furry movie that's coming out that has a way bigger following.
I was talking. Yeah, somebody posted. It might have been me actually. I posted the Zootopia 2 trailer in my server, and we were talking about it. And Bamison had brought up like the design of her with like the bunny ears tied up like a bun, and he's like, "Why did they do this?" And I was like, somebody really wanted to see that, Bamison. He's like, oh, I understand. It's like,
yeah. I will say that because it's Disney and they're much more tied to that like family friendly image than DreamWorks is. I know that it'll probably be to the extent that they did with the bad guys too. But I'm very curious because this is basically like the furry awakening for the vast majority of Gen Z. Zootopia,
especially.
It made $1 billion at the box office. There are a lot of people.
There even people, because there's like loads of people in the reviews of like Zootopia and the bad guys. They're like, I'm not a furry, but I find this character attractive. It's like, no, you're a furry because I'm not a furry. I don't find these characters attractive. Like, not even slightly. Like, there's no chub. I'll say that, no chub. And just seeing people just be like, I'm not a furry. It's like, no, dude, you are. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just own it. Just own it. It's not a huge deal.
Own
just
it.
Don't.
Exactly. You're disgusting. I hate you. You're filthy trash. I think you should die. But own it. You know? It's like...
Oh, man. Oh, man.
But, like, have you found the thirst trap yet?
Hold up. Let me see. I think I bookmarked it. Hold up.
I bookmarked it for research purposes. Wink, wink.
No, I'm not. I'm not like that for anyways.
Yeah.
So while I'm looking for it, since we're on the topic of Wolf and Diane.
Sure. Little ditty about Wolf and Diane. Two American wolves.
Before we talk about their actual romance, per se, I'm curious as to if you... I've said I'm curious 5 different times.
Well, you're a very curious person.
I am. I'm very curious.
Curious George over here.
Anyway, are you calling me a monkey hound? Oh, no. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm just kidding. But how do you think that this movie fixes your biggest problem with Diane in movie number 1?
So that's a good point, actually. Yeah, because they do show Diane Foxington getting caught, and the world now knows that she's actually the Crimson Paw. And yeah, like they actually reveal it to the world. And I mean, I'm annoyed by it because they treat it as like, oh, we can't let people know about this. It's like, no, fuck that bitch. Like, let the world know. Like, I don't know why you want me to see it as a bad thing that she gets found out. Like, good.
Okay. Can I say one thing? The only reason why I disagree with that particular line of thought is because he is the only one that's on their side throughout the movie. While they're still being ostracized by society, she's like their biggest defender at this point in the story when it comes to like covering for them, making sure that they're able to avoid law enforcement, that kind of stuff. So I can understand why they feel that way to protect her, because it is like they have become friends since the first movie per se. So that's just kind of where my thought process is.
Sure.
When it comes to that. And I completely understand your perspective. I just don't personally.
It's just something that really annoyed me about the first one. I'm glad that they went through with it. Like, okay, I respect the movie for doing that. It's just at that point in the movie, it's the climax, and so we have bigger fish to fry, so to speak. So at that point, I don't know, it really doesn't really amount to anything, because then the characters die, and they die, quote unquote, and so then they're lauded as heroes. So it didn't ultimately matter at that point that she gets revealed as the Crimson Paw. So it's like, all right, whatever. So I don't know. I feel like at this point, now that her secret's out and they're just secret agents for the third movie, I'll probably like that fine, as long as there's not any bullshit in the third movie I don't like. But yeah, I don't know. At this point, it literally does not matter. All right, let's see. You posted the thing in here. Some call it a thirst trap. I call it the art of misdirection. Get your tickets now for very good. Is this a video?
It's a video.
Okay,
You thought this was just an image? Oh, no.
Okay,
this is like a straight up Instagram reel. TikTok style edit, the kind of thing that you would expect.
Yeah.
A fan,
okay.
A fan edit.
Let me see if I can play it on the episode here. Let me open up the link. It's gonna.
Bad guys? No. More like Five Guys, burgers and fries. Am I right? I mean, y'all looking for a job? You should have started there. I mean, you got Five Guys, more or less. I haven't counted. And I'll be like, Mr. Wolf, I want a burger and give me the works, but no tomatoes. I mean, who puts a fruit on a burger? And then he'll be like, okay, it'll be $25. And I'll be like, wow, you guys really are criminals, aren't you? And end scene.
All right, let's see. All right, here we go. We're about to watch the Mr. Wolf thirst trap video. Here we go.
Hello. The art of misdirection. Not bad. Not bad at all.
Okay, well, there you go, folks. Fucking,
Yeah, it's very mild. It's very mild.
Yeah. But it's the inclusion of the words thirst trap that really grinds my gears there, I will say. Anyway.
Yeah.
You gave away a lot of this movie's plot in that rant about Diane, which is fine because like this is a spoiler discussion.
Yeah, if you're listening to this
like,
podcast and you haven't watched The Bad Guys 2, probably Olivia, like, but is she really gonna care, you know?
Yeah, I don't think Liv will watch this one, and I'll tell her to not watch it until after she's seen the movie, which is not going to be for a while.
So at this point, if Liv's listening, that means she has seen the movie. So Liv, what did you think?
Liv, which one of the girls was your favorite? You got to tell me after.
Anyways, so I want to go back a little bit to explain. So basically, the way that the premise of the movie takes place 5 years after the original. The bad guys are trying to reintegrate to society after
nobody wants to hire them because of their criminal past.
And from the way that it's presented in the trailers, you'd think that it'd factor more into the plot, and that's what the whole movie is about, that they'd have some kind of internal conflict about it. And I'm not seriously, I think that would make for an interesting story, and I think it would be a theme that would be very topical and not necessarily anything that kids wouldn't be able to understand per se. The reason why I don't necessarily think that kind of conflict and them being fully standing firm on their trajectory towards going towards the path to the good life, the reason why I think that's better for this movie in particular is because if their arc is an internal conflict about whether or not they should go back to going bad, back when their life was better per se, it would effectively mean them relearning the same lesson that they did in the first movie. That being society's opinion on you doesn't mean shit.
Right. And also, I just don't feel like a DreamWorks movie meant for kids is going to have the main characters by the end of the movie be like, actually, we were better off as bad guys. It's like, do crime, kids. Like, they're not gonna do that. I
just feel like it would have been redundant.
That too, redundant.
There is one scene where it comes up that I really like with Kitty and Wolf, where they kind of talk about that philosophy and how she kind of tries to convince him, like, this is why the bad life is better. It's worked for me. I don't understand why you would want to go back. But he's fully realized in that when it comes down to his belief that, no, we realized throughout the first movie, we were going to take accountability for our crimes and actually work to become better people, and that society ostracizing us, it is bad, but it's also not an excuse per se. And I think that also makes them very easy to root for in terms of getting society to win them back over. And well, that and the fact that, again, they've got such good chemistry with each other. Oh my gosh. I can't wait to talk about the characters. But that's just, in terms of general story structure, that's part of the reason why I really respected this one. And I do still think that I was proven right about how multiple installments work better for their trajectory moving forward.
Yeah, I don't know. Watching this movie, it's like, I don't know what it does that I can't already get from something like Shrek or Megamind when it comes to these themes. I feel like I connect with those far more than I do here.
Yeah, because truth be told, The Bad Guys, as always, I've always viewed it as an action comedy first and foremost. This is not saying that it doesn't have any themes,
right?
But the priorities lie, again, with the action and comedy, both of which I think are incredibly strong in this movie. And part of the reason why I hold it in high esteem, in addition to the themes that are still treading into familiar territory and have been done better in other movies, like you say, Megamind. I think that's better than both Bad Guys movies.
Yeah.
I think in general, I think the way that it handles the concept of nature versus nurture and how society influences you, it's a lot more nuanced and mature in how it handles. Not saying that The Bad Guys doesn't have that layer of nuance, again, with the ending, but I think that Megamind in general, and it's also just a stronger movie in general both as a parody of superhero movies
and as a, as a villain protagonist movie,
Yeah.
and as a like
I mean,
I think it works better, and it's a lot funnier
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
all
it's
things
definitely a lot
considered.
funnier.
I think that the Bad Guys is really funny, but
Yeah.
Megamind is just
It's far
on a whole
funnier.
other level.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I think the Bad Guys also, this is something I've talked about before, where it's like they advertise these movies as like, oh, this movie, this time it's about the villain. But by the end, the villain is just a hero. So it's not, it's one thing I really was annoyed with stuff like Wreck-It Ralph or Despicable Me and Megamind, especially at first, where it's like, okay, you're advertising that you're making a movie about a villain, but by the end, they're just the heroes. So, and then the villains are just worse villains. So, and that's fine. They work for those movies and they do work for the Bad Guys. It's just, I've always wanted to see a movie where it's a villain as the main character and they're the villain even all the way towards the end, And I know they're not really going to do that with a kids movie because it's a kids movie. You want your main protagonists to be these morally righteous, upstanding characters. And that's fine. Like, you can do that. It's just when it comes to villain protagonist movies, I really want something where the character is still the villain by the end, because I think that'd be a really cool storytelling thing. Just like change it up a bit. The antagonist is now the protagonist, but like still filling in that antagonistic character trait,
Yeah, no, and I definitely think that can be pretty interesting, especially when it comes to, I think TV. There's a lot of TV shows that I think, like, the first thing that comes to mind when you say that is Breaking Bad, where he gradually transitions into a more villainous role.
I guess that is
where-
what, yeah,
but we
something
still-
like The Sopranos. Like, yeah, Tony Soprano is the main character, and he remains this immoral character throughout the majority of the show. Like, he never really becomes good. But
Right.
but
But he's still compelling.
yeah, he's still compelling, of
Like,
course.
The drama with her is what makes him still engaging to follow, even though we know this stuff
Yeah.
that he's doing is wrong.
I think I would
He's a-
also,
he's-
yeah,
he fills the role of the villain per se, while still very unambiguously being the protagonist that
Yeah.
we're viewing the story through the lens of.
But The Sopranos is also difficult because, I feel like everybody's kind of this morally dubious character. Like, the FBI is pretty morally dubious if you watch that show. Like, they do some pretty fucked up shit in that show. But and then, of course, also the main characters
Don't
are...
spoil anything.
I'm
I
not
haven't
spoiling.
seen it
I'm
yet.
not going to spoil anything. I'm not. That's why I said, like, they do some fucked up shit. But I'm just going to leave it at that because it's incredible. Like, The Sopranos is one of my favorite TV shows for a reason. But yeah, like, I'm talking like, oh, they made a Morbius movie, but Morbius is unironically the hero in that movie. He's not a villain per se. It's like, make a movie where Morbius is the main character, but the villain of that movie is Spider-Man. It's like, do that, but they don't do that. They're going to make Morbius the hero, and then the villain is some worst villain, It's like, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I think that would be interesting.
But Morbius is unironically a 10 out of 10 because it's the most epic movie ever made. Like, don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Best movie ever. Better than both Bad Guys movies combined. It's not even close.
Well, I'm
Morbius
glad- I'm
is,
glad you agree.
actually Liv, if you're listening to this, watch Morbius. It's so good. I don't know if you haven't logged on Letterboxd yet. You're gonna love it so much.
And if you haven't logged, log it again because it's great.
Get it to the 4.8 to 5.3 range on Letterboxd that it desperately deserves to be at.
Get it to the 10-point range.
Yeah. What were we talking about again?
Bad
Guys.
Oh yeah, that's what this episode's about.
Let's see. What other elements do I? Because again, I have a lot of thoughts, most of which are going to be covered in my review that's coming out this week. By the time this video comes out, the only difference will be, like, again, this is a spoiler discussion. That review is going to be spoiler free, but it does go a lot deeper into some of my things that I have. This is mostly just kind of rambling in terms of my thoughts.
That's just it's a ramble podcast. What can I say?
I want to make you talk about the furries some more.
Sure.
Wolf and Diane's relationship. It's canon. And trust me, as somebody who has, like, I'm not someone who normally interacts with fandoms per se, usually what I'll do is like I'll reserve discussions about the piece of media with fans that I actually trust, people that I actually want to engage with per se, rather than interacting with the fandom at large. But as somebody who's,
Level-headed
like,
people.
yeah, as somebody who's observed on the outside, yeah, they really wanted this to happen. Everyone was kind of anticipating it.
Right.
Even me to an extent, because Pierre Perifel, the director, he has these little comics that he draws on Instagram, and you can tell that he's very invested and was very enthusiastic about the idea of them getting together in the second movie. And it kind of got me, you know, a little enthusiastic. Definitely not as much as other people in the fan base, but still like pretty like, hey, maybe they can make this work.
Yeah, maybe they can make it work, and that's
but I'm
why they
curious
had that.
as to-
That's why they had that hardcore sex scene between the
Do you
two.
have a word to say other than thanks? What do you think of? What are your thoughts on the two of them becoming a couple at the end of the movie? How do you think they handled that?
I thought they handled it kind of weird because they had that hardcore fucking scene
do
between
you have any thoughts at all?
Diane and Wolf. I thought Wolf's penis was really weird and misshapen. I thought that was weird when they did that. What am I even doing? Fucking all right. Yeah, they're together. They have the two furry bait characters kiss each other. It's like, okay, like I really just don't. I don't have any thoughts at all on them as a couple. Is the thing. Like,
honestly, that's fair. Because the thing is, I don't really think that DreamWorks is like, when it comes to the romances in their movies, they've just never really been like anything to say. Like, if you tell me like animated couples, like some of my favorites, like none of them would be from DreamWorks per se.
no.
I think that this is definitely one of the better ones per se. Even though I do think so, I think so. Something that I bring up in my pacing is a very big problem in both of these movies, and I think this one even more so. It becomes an issue really with everything involving both Diane and her relationship with Wolf. I think that what probably would have made it work better, because we really only get one scene of the two of them interact, like that scene where they're in the gym sparring and like they've got that tension where they're kind of like, oh, we like each other, but we're pretending not to.
Oh, I remember the gym scene. I remember the gym scene.
I'm glad that wasn't a thing for the entire movie. It was just
right.
Like they were in love with it. I'm sorry. One of the things that kind of annoyed me about Dogman with it was the reporter lady and the police chief, where they kind of really on the nose with the we like each other, but we're pretending that we don't, and it just got kind of tedious after a while because you know whenever they do that they're going to end up together.
Yeah, no, it's an obnoxious stereotype. It's an obnoxious trope I hate seeing in movies, and they still do it anyway. It really annoys me. But yeah, no, I remember the gym scene when Diane Foxington, the furry bait character, is in these tight-wearing gym clothes and she's kicking ass. It's like, okay, push it back a little, guys. You're showing your furriness.
Mm-hmm. These animators knew exactly what they were doing.
yeah, they knew exactly what they were doing. And they thought we wouldn't notice. It's like, no, it's very obvious what you're doing. Which is fine. Yeah. But remember, there's kids watching, so...
But yeah, even though that's kind of the only scene where that happens, and I'm glad that they didn't have that throughout the whole movie, I do wish that they probably could have benefited from more scenes together. If that's what the end game for their relationship was going to be. I think that it feels very rushed through because this movie has a lot going on for even 100. I think it's an hour and 40, so yeah, about 100 minutes. But even for a time that's relatively longer than the average DreamWorks film, I do still think that it's got a lot going on, and especially in the case of the ending, I think a lot of that stuff felt very rushed, and I feel like it could have very much benefited from the longer runtime. That might be a case of an instance of, time flying when you're having fun, per se, and you enjoying a movie and its characters so much that you don't want it to end, per se. But I do think that this one does have a bit of a pacing problem. Mm-hmm. And it's probably the reason why I've given it a 9 and not a 10. One of the reasons I've given it a 9 and not a 10.
Yeah. Time flies when you're having fun.
Also, another thing going back to, because I know we already talked about it, with the Crimson Paw,
We only get one real scene where we get to see how that like negative. It doesn't really like
negatively impact her because again, the bad guys, they quote unquote die in the climax right afterwards, so we don't really get a chance to see, like, we obviously know what's at stake for Diane based on the first movie, how she's been established into the position of power, but the fact that we really only get one scene and it's just in the form of, you know, those text messages being like, oh, the stereotypes were right,
I never trust a fox.
Never trust a
I'm
fuck.
like,
I'm literally crying right now.
it's like, it's basically them saying our racism against the animals are justified. I was right. I was right about the blacks. I mean the foxes.
Hey, who told you I said that? I mean, what?
Seed.
Cope and seethe.
But again, I feel like we could have gotten at least one other scene to really heighten that, so we can at least see the impact.
Yeah,
you know?
of course.
Yeah, but I also do think that it also, again, society's opinion, if they're only going to judge you for elements of yourself that are outside of your control, which in this case is skin color. I mean, having sharp teeth.
Having sharp teeth.
And claws.
And claws and paws.
Then fuck them. You don't have to keep. It doesn't matter what they think as long as you are your best self. But I do think that in terms of them teaming up in the end, it's a good way for them to be a part of the, you know, the spy organization, because now Diane's effectively in the same position as them. Even though that they were still allies at the time, but she was still in a position of power. And I do still kind of wish we got more time to see what her how her past as the Crimson Paw influences her current headspace throughout the film. Like, if that kind of informs her decisions, if she had some kind of knowledge that the girls had that info on her, if that would inform her decisions throughout the film. So,
right.
Yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at with that. It's not bad. It just definitely could have been done better, in my opinion.
Really dive into Diane's character. What does she think? What does she have for breakfast? What do her gym clothes smell like? I mean, what?
I'm trying to wonder what she would react, how she would react if she saw all the art of her. If she accidentally stumbled upon Rule 34 E621, I'm gonna get you demonetized, Hal. I'm so sorry.
I can just imagine the Rule 34 E621. No, what is it? E21. What the fuck is the furry one? You know this.
No, okay, so no, there's three major ones. There's Rule 34, which is like in general, like for everything.
Yes.
There's E621, which has more furry stuff. And the one explicitly dedicated for just furry stuff, no human stuff, is Fur Affinity.
Fur Affinity, right.
That's the one where all of the furry. If you're like going explicitly with the intent of furry stuff, that is where you.
Yes, I'm quite familiar with. I mean, what? No, I'm kidding. We're not furries here.
Anyways, what characters? You said Aquafina as Tarantula doesn't annoy you. I'm glad. I think it's probably.
I think it's gotten a little more annoying over the years, but at the same time, it's not like the worst of the worst. Like when I think of Aquafina at her worst, I think, you know, Shang-Chi, Kung Fu Panda 4. Was she in one of the Angry Birds movies? I don't remember, but that sounds like something she would be in. You didn't
watch the live action Little Mermaid, did you?
I did. I remember I did an episode of Lazy's podcast when he was doing his podcast. We did both Little Mermaid movies.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
that
I watched
the worst role to date.
Scuttlebutt.
Oh man, and it sucks because I love Scuttlebutt so much I love all the animals in the animal sidekicks in the original a lot.
But... You called him Scuttlebutt. It's just Scuttle. It's just Scuttle in the original. Scuttlebutt's the song.
Yeah, because he's so likable.
I love Scuttle. That's Buddy Hackett. Yeah,
they bastardized him so much. Or bastardized them because Scuttle is role in this one.
Yeah, one of
But
the
my
worst
point
Aquafina
is-
roles. So comparatively, I will take her a million times in the Bad Guys movies because, yeah, does she say some really obnoxious shit as like the cool hacker spider? Yes, but like, I don't know, it's meant for younger kids and it's not as excessive as, again, Scuttlebutt, which actively feels like the movie's trolling us, being like, see, we're making this really obnoxious song for you guys to make fun of. It's like, ugh. So, yeah, I will gladly take Aquafina as Miss Tarantula any day of the week over Scuttlebutt. And I don't know, Kung Fu Panda 4. She was also annoying in that one.
Oh, you forgot about Raya. I just completely forgot to talk about Raya.
Oh, yeah, Raya the Last
She's the
Dragon,
food dragon.
where she's Elsa Dragon. Oh, that was also annoying.
Oh,
Hey, guys, it's me, Elsa Dragon. Derp! It's like, shut the fuck up!
Oh man, I think a lot of it really just has to boil down to overexposure per se.
Yes.
And I think with this role in particular, I think that she actually fits the character for what they're trying to go for. You know, just kind of laid back hacker.
Mhm.
She suits the role very well.
she has her moments that I do think are pretty sweet. Like there's this one line where she talks about liking weddings but pretends not to when they have to go to that wedding.
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of cute.
Yeah, she's pretending
But,
not to like weddings, how we're pretending not to be furries. I mean, what?
Speaking of weddings, Hal, no, I'm just anyway, let's see what else we got to talk about. So going into it, so you know how like because this is a kids movie, we've got to have our obligatory fart joke, some kind of gross out humor to like appease the kids,
Yeah.
And they've got that with Piranha.
Mhm.
It's carrying over, and like
on the one hand, like, yes, it is book accurate. That is how it's like in the books. But the thing about me is that my philosophy is that when it comes down to anything, when it comes to adaptation, it's effectively just fan service when it comes to book accuracy. And I don't think that it takes precedence over doing things that make the story work well in the medium of film. Likewise, I don't think that Piranha farting in the books means that him doing it in the movies makes it any less funnier, because it's also not funnier there. But I don't think I really think that you have to move past the idea that book accuracy automatically equals good, and that's not just for that specific element, but
in general. But in the case of that,
I will say though, it's not as pronounced that as you'd think it would be in the trailers. Because the 2 times that he does it, it's like once in the opening and then again where he does it a bunch in the when they're in space. It's like it's bad. It's just like kind of like just makes me roll my eyes a little, but it's nothing that really takes me out of the film too much. You know? It's just
I'm sorry.
this is what
I'm still thinking about fart jokes as fan service.
yeah, no, it's like Captain Underpants because
Oh
they
god.
talk all the time about butts and farts and
Yeah.
onions.
Speaking of
that's
fetish stuff.
that's technically fan service. Oh my god.
Yeah, no.
Ah.
I don't know. I've never. It's not really something to get angry at. The fucking Piranha fart jokes. It's just not something I like.
It's just like whatever. This is like, again, I've seen way worse when it comes to gross out humor.
Oh yeah, the fucking that fucking total drama show where it's like that fart fetish fairy where he just goes around sniffing kids' farts. It's like, what are you doing? Like, that should be considered a form of child abuse. Just that whole episode of that show, like that is disgusting.
I was thinking more along the lines of like 8 Crazy Nights.
That too.
Well,
8 Crazy Nights isn't meant for kids. Well,
that movie.
I mean, I guess kids did watch 8 Crazy Nights because they thought like, hey, it's a kids movie from Adam Sandler we can put on, and then they watch it. They're like, dear God, is that shit in that deer's mouth?
It's so because I thought the deer was like, is this gonna be the one thing about this movie that I don't hate? Are the deer just gonna be the one innocent thing? And then I
find out that Adam Sandler did the vocal effects for it, and then I see that seed of the deer just opening his mouth, and it's like, oh my god, I hate how this movie is so fucking mean.
Sound to me like Adam Sandler's on crack.
Oh man, this it is always going to be the worst Adam Sandler movie in my opinion. If it wasn't animated, I wouldn't feel that way. But I think the fact that it's animated honestly makes me hate it more because it just feels like the fact that he goes through such lengths to do this kind of shit that he doesn't take. At least not at the time. He doesn't take the medium seriously. He's just using it to do his spiteful, mean-spirited. Okay, I don't want to talk about 8 Crazy Nights anymore.
Yeah, no more 8 Crazy Nights. That's a technical foul. We're here to talk about the bad guys.
That's a technical foul.
That's a technical foul.
Man, fuck Whitey. Fuck all the characters named Crazy. Why are they all voiced by Adam Sandler? Why is it such a self-centered movie? Why is Rob
Panda
Schneider
Express.
so
Would you check out Herpazugs?
Anyways, the bad guys too. Oh, Sharky. We gotta talk about Sharky. What did you think of Sharky?
I think Craig Robinson is a funny guy. I think Shark's a good character. Again, I don't really have that much like love and passion for him as a character. I think he can be funny. But that's it. Like again, I'm sorry, I just don't have that much to say on Shark. I think he's funny for what he is. He serves his purpose well. That's it.
You know what's interesting? I still like him the same as much as I do in the first film, but he's actually one of the elements that I have the least amount of new stuff to say about. Because again, most of the stuff that I like about him, Craig Robinson's performances, his disguises, how varied they are, how dramatic he can be. There's one running gag he has where he, you know how he like impulsively like acts like he's always hitting people whenever he's like gets impulsive and he's like, I'm a panicker, okay? I'm a panicker. That was a nice gag that I think had some payoff in the climax with the rocket ship when he was like fixing it while panicking. He's like, I did it, I saved the day. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, most of the stuff that I like about him, he's still great. He's still my favorite character in the franchise. Not by a long shot anymore, but he's still my favorite. And most of it does come from the same things that I like about in the original, you know, how the fact that he kind of uses the disguises as a form of escapism, which is why he's a lot more passionate about. He acts so passionate about his performances and the roles, even when the other characters wear disguises also, which I think has always been a really smart move on the writer's part. I can gush about Sharky for ages, but there is one aspect of this movie that I think we have yet to talk about, I think is important. And that is the villains of this movie.
Yes.
Bad girl.
I can probably come up with things to say about the bad girls.
What did you think of the villains? What did you think of the villains, Hal?
Here's the thing. I actually can say that I thought I didn't really like them. I'm not even trying to say that to be funny. I didn't think any of them were that particularly interesting to me. I genuinely just, I don't know. I feel like if we talked about them individually, I'd be able to kind of figure out like general thoughts on all of them, you know, but I would say as concepts, I understand why they're new characters. It's like, yeah, it's the next movie in the franchise. We got to introduce new characters. So you're going to introduce these new characters. I can't think of any of them that I actually like on the same level as the first one. And again, you know how I feel about the original characters. Fine. And then Diane Foxington I don't like. So you're not really given a whole lot to begin with.
Well, I guess that we could talk about the original, the new characters individually. I guess I can start out with Kitty. So one of the things, because I had rewatched the original with Robin about a week before the first would come out, and I think my biggest problem that I kind of neglected to mention prior to when the second movie had come out, and it wasn't until after they had released that scene where they had done a roundtable read and we got to see what the main plot of the movie was going to be. I think Kitty is kind of a better version of Professor Marmalade in terms of what he's trying to go for. Because when you think about it, their plans are, the basic ideas of their plans are really similar in the sense that they're both trying to use the bad guys to get what they want, to help them out with their plans. They recognize their limitations and they're like, we can use these guys to help us complete our mission. Now, the difference with Marmalade is that you don't find that out until after the fact. And I do think that removing that twist element
with the girls, it makes them a lot more precise with how they go about their
plan to manipulate the bad guys, and it keeps the emotional stakes of the film high. That being that you have to work with us, or one, you're going to go back to jail because we're framing you for our crimes. We're taking advantage of our position in society as these underground heroes who aren't known. And since y'all are the only heroes, not the only heroes, since y'all are the only criminals, the most prominent criminals that the city has ever known, per se, they're going to immediately assume that it's you. So that already puts you at a disadvantage. And in addition to that, we are going to rat out your ally, Diane, about her identity as the Crimson Paw. So that is your incentive to work with us.
Well, see, here's the thing, because, like, I guess I kind of prefer Marmalade, though, as a main villain. I mean, mostly because I prefer Richard Ayoade as a voice actor, because I think he has one of the funniest voices in comedy. So right off the bat, I prefer that. I do hate the fact that he's a twist villain, because it's like, oh, that kind of takes away from the movie, because it's like, oh, it just feels like we had to put a twist in the movie. So then, yeah, you're saying like it's kind of a similar idea of like just taking the bad guys and kind of framing them.
Like using them, framing them, and also using them to do the parts of their plan that they can't do themselves. Like in
Marmalade's case, with Marmalade, everything after the bad guys get arrested, I do think is enhanced by the twist, because the basis idea of his plan is to get them into a position where they're good enough, the society likes them enough to the point where they'll get invited into the gala, so he can steal the meteorite and then frame them for it. The problem for me with him is that the aspect that I think is made worse or makes it less cohesive as a twist is the fact that the entire incident that starts it out, that being that interaction that Wolf has with the old lady, who's again revealed to be Marmalade in disguise, that event setting off a chain reaction to convincing Wolf towards the idea that he has the capacity to do good. We don't know. He has no way of knowing if that in and of itself is going to be enough to get the bad guys into that position where manipulating them or trying to get them to work for him would even work. And I feel like that's the one aspect of it that I think does make the twist not as effective as it could be. Again, I like Marmalade. I don't think he's bad. I like the way that he manipulates Wolfie. I like how he uses his because when I first described it, when I had first seen the movie, I described him as the better version of Bellwether from Zootopia, in the sense that they have similar motivations, which are effectively just power at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, in that regard, yeah, I prefer Marmalade way over Bellwether. I mean, again, purely on voice acting, because I prefer Richard Ayoade over Jenny Slate, but also, yeah, presentation, I think, yeah, that's done better.
But how? Jenny Slate was an Alvin and the Chipmunks Shipwrecked.
Oh, of course.
Don't you love that movie?
Movies everybody loves, Shipwrecked, especially David Cross.
The best one.
The best one. The one I haven't seen yet.
Anyways, but I think the main reason why I saw similarities between Bellwether is because they're both using the fact. This is part of the reason why I think, in terms of world building, I like it. In the sense that, of course, the animal that everybody already thinks is cute, if he can talk, he's automatically going to be in everybody's good graces. It'd be like if cats suddenly were able to start talking now, people would because people already love cats, so like them actually being able to talk, like of course that would get people on their side. They'd be easily lovable, and then Marmalade takes advantage of that, as opposed to the bad guys who are wilder, more aesthetically scary animals. You've got the great white shark, who's associated with all the great shark movies. You've got a piranha, you've got a snake, you've got a spider, and then you've got this little guinea pig who uses his position of power in society to do what the bad guys can't, which is be a criminal and pull off that heist by leading them to that point. And that's kind of the main reason why I drew parallels with that.
Now we were talking about the villains of the second one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bring back to the second.
So
one,
to the main, it's Kitty. What I want to say, Kitty Softpaws. I know that's not the character. It's Kitty.
Yeah.
Is it just Kitty? What the fuck is her name?
Her Kitty, aka Phantom Bandit.
Phantom Bandit. So
I like her a lot.
So
I think that
she's probably the behind Diane and Wolf, where it's the third most obvious furry bait character. It's this muscly lesbian cat woman. It's just like, okay, I see where we're going with this design. And then I think, which isn't a bad thing. Again, if that's what you're into, good for you. I'm not, clearly.
Projection? How are you projecting?
Projecting. I'm projectile vomiting is what I'm doing. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, no, but like I get the idea of her being this, like, she's very convinced that the life of crime is what she's into. I don't know. I just don't really. I think she's probably the villain I have the least to say about. Just because, well, I don't know. I just don't really get that much out of her in terms of threatening nature. I don't know. I think she's. I just did not see her as a better villain than Marmalade, and I already have my problems with Marmalade, but I think, I don't know. I just didn't. I was not really impressed with her as a character. I get what they're trying to do with her. I just didn't really get any of that.
I think the thing for me that I enjoy about her a lot, there's two factors that I think. The first of which is that I like the philosophy, the mindset she has when it comes to heists in general, and how that she's able to bond with Wolf because of that. That being the through line per se, the motif that occurs throughout it is basically the idea that heists are not just about the loot. It's a power move, which is effectively saying,
just so you know, that was a power move.
Yeah. In addition to status, it can be viewed as status, but I also think that it can be viewed as memorability per se. That the heist itself, how you get to that point, can be just as, if not more valuable as the loot itself. Because when you think about like the way the bad guys in the first movie, I think that they represent that idea very well when it comes to how extravagant their heists are, and how it never has felt just about the item that they're stealing per se. It's about the unique methods they go about and how they have a lot of fun with it per se, and how it does very much feel like a power move in a lot of ways. Like, one of the things that I think of off the top of my head is when they're initially planning to do the they're trying to steal the golden dolphin at the gala. At the end, they have that little billboard where it's like, "So long, suckers!" Like, they didn't have to do that, but they did because it was like they're giving them their own signature style when it came down to, and making them stand out as criminals per se. And I like how Kitty kind of represents a darker version of that, and also the circumstances that led to the circumstances that are similar to the main crew, but there was a much darker outcome that came from it, and how she went on a darker path. And I think it's interesting to see. I think it's fascinating. I just think it's really.
I just think it's real neat.
Yeah, I guess it is. I just think it's good. I think it makes for a really engaging character. I like Danielle Brooks' vocal performance a lot. I think she does a good job at selling Kitty's
malice.
Well, I preferred her in the Minecraft movie, personally.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't even say that with a straight face.
Man, she and Doom's voice actress Natasha Lyonne, because she was in Smurfs 2025.
Wow.
This movie feels like a way of making up for
this is a real.
I don't want to say sin, because they're both talented actresses. I just think that the movies that they're in waste their talent.
This is a real Natasha Lyonne renaissance this year. This Smurfs, Fantastic Four.
Oh, man. No, because neither of them do anything in their respective movies. And I can't. Anyways, so yeah, I like Kitty a lot. I think that the second thing that I was referring to is that You know how there's that other trope when it comes down to, villains that when they're losing, they kind of go holistic when it comes down to, they kind of disregard the extent. They're just so focused on, like, they're so vengeful at the point where they're not acting rationally per se in terms of enacting their plans per se, and how Kitty kind of loses it when she realizes that she is the bad guys are winning.
Yeah.
I think part of the reason for that is that her idea based on that philosophy, how her backstory establishes why the heist is a lot more personal to her compared to the other two girls. It makes that transition a lot better, and I think it makes her that source of tension that builds between her two teammates later on when you compare how she's interacted with the bad guys and how the other two have interacted with the bad guys. It makes that source of tension well built up to, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know what I'm referring to, right? When
yeah, no, literally Lex Luthor and Superman. But again, I find that more compelling because I find the characters in that movie far more compelling. So I give a shit when he crashes out and he's going 1A, 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 as opposed to Kitty in this one where it's like, yeah, I get if you're passionate for these characters, I think this movie does that well. It's just, I guess, yeah, she has a crash out moment, but I don't care for the characters, so I don't really care when she crashes out.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. I think, because you've got to understand, DreamWorks' villain lineup has been kind of ass these past few years.
Yeah, outside of the one shining moment where we had 3 great villains, and yeah, now we're just back to ass after ass after ass.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Like, I still like both villains in these movies. We've got all 3 in Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. And then I guess Kai from Kung Fu Panda 3, but he's like far from a standout. It's like he's good.
But that was 10 years ago. Like the last time we had a decent villain. It's gonna be
10 years ago this year. God damn it, Kung Fu Panda 3 is gonna be 10.
Yeah, that was 10 years ago. So like every DreamWorks movie after that, in between, we've had Kai, the Puss in Boots villains, and this, I guess. Everything else has been ass. It's like, that's not a good track record. You're right.
So I cannot think of a single one that's left an impression on me.
No. Not one. They had to bring back villains in the 4th Kung Fu Panda in order to get people to care. And that backfired horribly.
I mean, I guess there's a case to be made for the villain in How to Train Your Dragon 3, but again, I don't like that movie.
And was there a villain in How to Train Your Dragon 3? I don't remember anything about that movie.
It's the Night Fury killer. It's the one who kills the Night Fury instead of Grendel. That's his name, Grendel.
Who the fuck was that?
I feel like every single time you talk about a DreamWorks movie, I mention how much I hate The Hidden World. But there's a case to be made for that one. I can see the argument. I just don't agree.
I don't remember this character.
Most of the villains the past 10 years have sucked.
Yeah.
So maybe that might be me glazing Kitty more than I should.
Oh, you're glazing Kitty, all right.
I think that aside from
if you think this is glazing, how?
Well, I guess before we get to that character, can we talk about the bird?
Okay. Yeah, my point is I like Kitty. I think outside of Death, she's probably because again, I've talked about before, I'm not really a huge fan of Jack Warner. I think aside from Death, and I guess you count Goldilocks and the 3 Bears, even though they have a redemptive arc, I think she's probably my favorite to come out of this modern lineup of DreamWorks villains per se. If there was like a tier list, I'd probably put her in like lower A tier. She's not like Lord Shen levels of amazing, but I think she's pretty good. She's very good.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about, speaking of Natasha Lyonne, let's talk about her character, the bird. I hate the bird. I really do. I fucking hate this bird character. Not even just, I think it's basically just because she has the DreamWorks eyebrow face for 90% of the movie, and it is insufferable. I hate that face so much. It's so annoying. Oh, because she's the bird character. She's doing like the eyebrow thing, like the smug eyebrow character face. It really felt like DreamWorks has caught on to the fact that we see the DreamWorks eyebrow as a thing. So they're just like, let's just make this character just that. Just have her do the eyebrow thing all fucking movie. It was There was like, I can probably think of 2 scenes where she didn't do the eyebrow thing. And it's like, no, you were saying like these characters have very dynamic faces. I don't remember this character making any other face other than the eyebrow face. And it was really obnoxious after a while.
I mean, she like in the like when she's in that disguise, when she's with Snake for the first time when she's wearing her glasses, I think that she like left that face for a little bit. When like the scene that I'm thinking of off the top of my head is when they're trying to escape the wrestling rink, and they're like, she's like, get in to the car so that she can help them escape. That's what I'm thinking of off the top of my head. But I think Doom's probably the one that I have the least to say about per se. I didn't think when it came down to relationship with Snake, because Snake's not really given a whole lot to do here compared to what he was in the original. He's just they're both kind of just there to be each other's love interests.
Yeah,
it's not like amazing per se. I can certainly understand people being like, oh, why do we have to have 2 hetero romances? And it's like, I get it not being for everyone. It's not amazing. I think that it did have its fair share of funny moments. I think the way that they come together was, in particular, got a laugh out of me.
Oh, they come together.
And then the actual, yeah. Oh man. I was just straight up gonna give a standing ovation when that makeout scene showed up. And then Robin's like, sit the fuck down.
Yes.
He was a lot nicer than that.
Oh, Robin, holding it down. Thank you.
Yeah, I was getting it. Oh no, he has a lot for certain scenes. Anyways.
No, we love Robin.
Anyways, I love you, Robin. If you're listening to this, I love you. I had a great time watching this movie with you. Oh man, this episode has been quite a ride. We've gone from quite the transition.
Yeah. So
to how, yeah. So in terms of her relationship, it's good, not great. I like how that relationship builds up to that source of tension because I am invested in the characters. It got me a lot more invested in their relationship than I anticipated because I thought it was mainly just going to be played for laughs. I also thought they were going to split them up in the end. Like something was going to happen to make it where like as a joke they were going to like not end up together. But no, it implies in the aftermath that they are still going to be a couple for the time being. It's like, sure. I guess we'll have to wait until see what comes of that in the next movie. But I thought it was cute. What? Let's see. What other characters do we've got?
Yeah.
We talk about the police chief. We can talk about Logan's because she has a redemption arc in this one. I thought it was a good one.
Yeah, I do like this character. I think she is consistently probably the funniest one to me, the chief character. I think that helps because it's Lois Griffin's voice actress, which is pretty cool. Peter?
Yeah, it's voiced by Lois Griffin.
The horse is here.
Her range, her range is really good.
She's and I think she has the funniest faces too, and she's always like doing crazy stuff. Like I think, you know, especially in the first movie, the best part is the chase scene at the beginning with her chasing them. Like that was cool. And the best part of this movie is when they're being chased at the beginning too in Egypt. She's not in that scene, but it probably would have been greatly improved if she was, because I think she's pretty consistent. I do like this character. It's funny, out of all characters, my favorite character is the police chief, voiced by Lois Griffin.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought her redemptive arc was well built up too.
Sure,
it's like done in a way where it's like she is. I think my favorite, one of the funnier scenes in the movie is when there's that gigantic avalanche of people chasing the bad guys after they're being framed for stealing the thing that the girls did, and then she's like, she realizes that. She thinks that they betrayed them, and he's like, it's not what it's looked like. And she's like, I trusted you. And then she just runs through. She just bulldozes through the entire avalanche, just chasing them. I thought that was so funny.
Yeah. Again, she's usually the most consistently funny character to me. So, like, that's why I do like whenever I see her.
Yeah. Anyways, that's all the characters we have. Thank y'all for watching. Like, share, and subscribe to Hal's channel. Anyways,
time for demonetization.
Hello all, this is Lazy Bones here, and Hal asked me to make a cameo in the Bad Guys Too Many Movies episode, so here's my thoughts on the Bad Guys 2. But first, I'd like to squeeze in some time to talk about the most recent episode of the latest season of South Park. Because I've got to say, these latest 2 episodes of South Park were absolutely fantastic, and the show has been on an absolute roll in a way that it hasn't been in years. The 2 most recent episodes released as I'm recording this, Sermon on the Mount and Got a Nut, feel like they belong up there with some of the most memorable and beloved episodes in South Park's golden age. Got a Nut has some absolutely brilliant bits in particular, with its portrayal of Christine Nome being extremely hilarious, and I loved all the parts where she shot all the innocent puppies.
As the face of Homeland Security, I'll be leading the way.
Oh yeah, I forgot I'm supposed to talk about the Bad Guys too. Anyway, the Bad Guys 2.
Let's get ready to rumble. Do 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 do.
You remember those filthy, dirty characters, filthy, dirty furries that you were talking about?
Filthy,
earlier?
disgusting, scum of the earth furries. Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I gotta be honest, Al. I think I might fall into that category because I think I might have a little bit of a crush on one of the characters. Like, can you guess which one of those characters it is?
I can only imagine it's the dirty, disgusting pig.
No, let me out.
Owned.
Okay. So I have a list of things.
You have a list.
That I am not allowed to talk about.
Okay.
If Pigtail ever came on this was ever a point of discussion. So I am going to be very, very hard. I'm going to try.
Oh, I know you're hard.
Anyways, so yeah, I think the pig in this is hot. Again, so much so that I made a list of things.
You admitted it. Hooray! You did it. Good job.
Anyway.
Good job.
Anyways, yeah, and she is my no. I still think Sharky's my favorite, but she's a very close second. I just like that they both have the energy, because now that I've actually seen the movie, like, I thought she was hot when I saw the trailers, but now having actually seen the full movie and what her personality was like, I just really like how they're both kind of the we're just happy to be here characters in their respective teams. I love how she's essentially just like this fangirl through and through. She's just utterly obsessed with the bad guys. It's like, I'm utterly obsessed with the bad guys. It is.
Okay.
It is so cool. She's a big crime nerd. I'm a big crime nerd.
The puzzle pieces are coming together, so to speak.
No, it's like she's just so. There's something about like this innocence that she has to her character compared to the other hardened nature of the other two that I think was a much needed balance in terms of the characters per se. Did I mention that she's hot? How she's so fucking hot. I love her so much.
You like your pigs hot. I like my pigs roasted.
No, leave her alone. She does not want to become your pork chop dinner, Hal. But my point is,
your long-winded point.
Yeah, she is amazing. I like all of the girls per se, so much so to the point where I'd be really kind of frustrated if they didn't do anything with them after this movie. But like worst case scenario, I just do what I did with Kung Fu Panda and just fanfic my way out of it.
Right, of course. Oh,
my
fanfic.
point is,
yeah.
my point is, you should read one of my fanfics sometime, Hal. They're very wholesome and innocent and religious. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Nice, wholesome fic for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. So I love Emmy. I love her voice. Oh my gosh, Maria Bakalova did an amazing. I actually want to see. Because I know she's in the second Borat movie. I was gonna watch it like in preparation for. I was gonna watch like her entire filmography, just because like
you're that obsessed.
I was with the character, not the actress.
Uh-huh.
Like again, she's talented per se.
Sure.
I think the only thing I've seen her in so far is both Guardians thing, because she voices Cosmo the dog.
Yes. Yeah, and then the pig.
3.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the accent does a lot, both in terms of attractiveness and my enjoyment of the character and comedy. I mentioned that she's hot. How
You're into those Eastern European women, I see.
There's certain elements that of her design that I promised that I wouldn't talk about. But
talk about them at this point. At this point, if my channel isn't demonetized through Killer Pussy, this isn't gonna make any changes. You know.
What can I say? I like chubby girls. She's very chubby. I like her. I like the certain unspecified shots in the film that I think. Honestly, now that I'm letting all of this out. This whole entire episode has just been me beating the "you only like this movie because you're a furry" allegations.
Oh, you're beating something right now.
Right. Anyway. Maria Bakalova, this role, she embodies the role so well. I love the character. I like. Similarly to Doom, I like how she's kind of the one that wants to hold the crew together per se when she's like trying to calm Kitty down per se. She's like, it's just a heist. She's like, it's never just a heist. And the look on her face, and I was like, no, I just want my baby girl to be happy. But yeah, I could talk about her for days.
Yes, you can.
I don't want to keep you for the short version is I love Amy. I love.
Yeah.
She was like one of the things that was most excited for about this movie, and that's the bad guys too. There's other things like
I didn't give my thoughts on Emmy. I didn't.
Emmy. Oh yeah. Okay. For context, Emmy is her name in the books.
Yes.
They all have names in the books, but she's the only one who I call by her.
Yeah. I call her the disgusting pig, as it were. Yeah.
Come on, Hal. You can't honestly say that. You can't honestly say she's so likable.
So
I don't.
Well, so here's the thing. So this character has been built up for months now. Not only has this movie been hyped up, this character has been hyped up for months. From you, you've been very to the point about your obsession with this character. So when I started watching the movie, I had to be like, all right, what's the deal? What's the deal with this fat, disgusting pig? And I finally watched it, and I guess through you explaining her character traits, sure, I get it now. It's like, okay, the puzzle pieces are coming together. You share a lot of obsessions with her. I get that. This is probably the character I'm least I'm least understanding of like the furry attraction to, like at least with something like someone like Diane, someone like Kitty, someone like Wolf, I'm like, I understand a furry finding that attractive. I don't personally. I think it's disgusting, but at least I understand. I don't know, just something about this pig character. I don't see why you're obsessed with it from a visual standpoint, but at the same time you explain the character traits, like the obsession with crime, the obsession with the bad guys. It's like, okay, now I understand. I mean, as a character, yeah, I can't even say like I'm annoyed with her. I'm not. I really couldn't care less about her is the thing.
He is not ugly, Hal.
She's not ugly, but she's a fat, disgusting pig.
She's not ugly. Well, this pig is a fat, disgusting pig, and you've got a thing for her.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say, remember when you used to say I had a crush on Miss Piggy? Like,
oh no, I don't have a crush on Miss Piggy.
no, I know you said I did, and it's like, no, I made a joke one time, and you ran with it for like a year.
Yeah.
But now I see why. I see why that was a joke, because it was projecting. Look, if you find her
to be fair, it wasn't projecting until after I had seen the movie per se.
Okay.
After the first trailer had come out per se. That was the only time it really started to be like actual projection.
Yeah. Look, if you find her attractive, fine. I don't see it at all. And I don't even, this is not like a moment where it's just like, oh, you hyped up this character and now I find her annoying. No, I really can't say that. I don't have strong feelings for this character one way or the other. She's there. She does her job well, I guess. Again, though, this comes back to, I'm not that passionate for the bad guys, so there's really not a whole lot I can say about this character.
That's fair.
But,
I totally
yeah.
get it.
And
That
now
just means more for me.
More for you. And yeah, you let it all out in this disgusting episode. I'm gonna have to take a shower now. This episode has been very gross. I hate it. You and your disgusting fantasies about these characters, let me tell you. No, you know what? You are very normal when it comes to this movie compared to... I can just imagine the fucking depraved shit that is on the internet of these characters. You know, it's much, much worse than whatever you've thought about. I'll say that. The internet is a dark, disgusting place, and I hate it.
Hopefully I don't lose you too many subscribers after this episode.
No, are you kidding? This is a winner right here. This is a winner.
Oh, man.
The bad guys too. It's fine. I don't hate these movies. I hate the specials because they're fucking atrocious. But I don't hate the movies. I just don't care for them either.
Yeah. Again, well, some of it is personal. I think that as action comedies, they're both really strong.
Oh no, there is one other thing that I think we should probably talk about before we wrap up.
Okay.
Yeah. The post-credit scene.
I did not watch it. So well, because I quote unquote left the theater at that point. So.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah, no, because I remember hearing a discussing film talk about like how there was a post, and I'm like, oh, yeah.
So I did. So yeah. Truth be told, I did not watch this movie in the theaters. I was thinking about it. I was not about to be an adult that goes to the bad guys by themselves. I don't know. Just that's not something I wanted to do. Like, there are movies out there I will go and see by myself. I saw Dogman with my sister, like, but that's not a movie I would have seen by myself. That's why I saw Dogman. I saw it with my sister. A movie I would have absolutely gone to see by myself would have been The Day the Earth Blew Up, but I went with somebody, so luckily I didn't have to be the adult man-child watching the Looney Tunes movie in theaters by themselves. Actually, the thing is, my sister was probably the youngest person at that Looney Tunes movie. It was all just adults. So I could have gone by myself and have no shame. But yeah, Bad Guys 2, that was not a movie I was willing to go see in theaters by myself. So I saw it through other means. Wink, wink, hardy har har, yar har fiddle dee dee. And so usually when you watch it through those means, they don't stay throughout the credits. They just kind of end when the credits start. So I did not see the post-credit scene. What is the post-credit scene?
It is very, basically, you know how in the climax, basically we find out that their plan is to steal all of the gold in the world through a giant magnet.
Yes.
One of the things, you know how at one point Marmalade's car that is made of gold, after he gets released from prison, gets shot up into the sky because of that?
Okay. Yeah, and then he comes back down in the post-credit scene, right?
No, quite literally the opposite. He keeps going up
Oh.
because the car turns into a spaceship. And it's basically implied that he is. Okay, this is the. It basically implies that he's an alien, and that is something that is directly taken from the books, and it had me raising my eyebrows a little bit because you have to understand. I know you've only read book 1,
Mhm.
and now I have to ask actually. Do you think that the book 1 is better than movie Bad Guys 1, or would you say that they're about the same?
I don't remember a damn thing about the first book. I think it was a kid's book, and I really just attained no information from it. It's probably about the same. But again, it's a book written for like 8-year-olds, I felt. So it's like, I guess this is fine for kids. I really can't say if it's like, if it holds up narratively, you know? I don't know. I just didn't get the sense that it's a narrative driven book. It's just, here are the bad guys. La-di-da.
It's narrative in the sense that there's an ongoing story. Like one book generally leads into the next.
Right.
But I describe it more as like Saturday morning cartoon in terms of its premise per se. In the sense that the adventures that they go on, they're tied in together, but they very much feel episodic in a lot of ways. At least in the first half. Once you get into the later books, they get more narrative driven per se, but not necessarily in terms of thematic, just like, oh, there's an ongoing story, there's a lot of additions to the lore. But the reason why it has me raising my eyebrows a little bit is because DreamWorks, if they're going to adapt straight from the books, there are certain things in there they only get gradually more and more unhinged conceptually as they go along.
Oh.
And that results me in a lot of things that I am opposed to DreamWorks adapting on principle, simply due to the fact that I do not think that they would be able to accurately
So
to have it be done well in a feature-length film.
So Marmalade,
Like, we're
being an alien,
travel, we're talking alternate dimensions, we're talking aliens. I'm telling you, it is a lot. It is a whole lot.
And what does that have to do with sexual stuff?
I meant unhinged conceptually. Not everything is about.
I thought you said unhinged sexually, and I was like, what the fuck? I thought this was a fucking kid's book.
No.
Okay.
Aaron Baby would not do that. I was talking about conceptual. Maybe unhinged was the wrong word. I was talking just ridiculous conceptually, and it works because again, it's not really something that you're meant to take seriously per se. Which the movies aren't really either, at least not in terms of themes.
Right.
But my point is that
look, all I'll say is thank God it's not unhinged sexually, because I got scared there for a second. I'm like, what the fuck is this book?
No, I'm just talking about the concept they introduced.
Conceptually.
And how they expand upon the world.
Right, conceptually.
I just don't think DreamWorks would handle a lot of these well. So I'm just saying, adapt the parts about the books that you think would work well. Recognize that not all of it is going to work in a feature-length film. Pick out the parts that you think would work better, because I didn't really want to spend too much time talking about it from an adaptational standpoint per se. That is very much doable for me, but I'm more so just kind of wanted to focus on the movie as is, because even though I have read and enjoyed the books, I would never consider myself to be an expert on it, because again, I got into them after I had seen the first movie, and that was also part of the reason why I had raised my score up from an 8 to a 9, because of certain adaptational changes that are a lot more subtle, but still make it work in a feature-length film format. And they still carries over into this movie. Like, the whole opening sequence, the fact that it's an origin story for Miss Tarantula, it feels like it's meant to pay homage to said origins that happen in the book, which are very different from how they are in the movie. So that's kind of where I'm at with the adaptational angle. But I just didn't want to focus too much on that in my review, and just kind of our episode and talk about how the movie is on its own. You know?
Well, you know what? I think this episode is a success purely because you got to vent all your things to say about the pig. So there you go.
All of them.
All of them.
That's like 1/64th, like 0.0016% Again, we've probably got some pretty young listeners on here.
That's right. Yeah.
I don't want your video to get straight up taken down for explicitly sexual content.
Again, we've talked about killer pussy on this podcast, and it was fine. So I think whatever we did here, I think you towed the line to killer pussy, but I think we'll be fine. But yeah.
Hal, Earl just watched the movie.
Oh yeah.
Earl just watched the movie.
Yeah, I saw. Oh wow.
Good job, Earl.
Yeah, we love
Everyone
Earl.
go follow Earl12456 on Letterboxd.
Yeah, he
The
rules.
best account on there reviewing movies right now.
Yeah, he's great. We love Earl. He's great.
Remind me to, when this episode is over, to do a timestamp for when we talk about Emmy, so I can send it to Liv so she can skip over it.
You don't need to hear any of that, Liv. Trust me.
I'm gonna send that to the whole. I'm just gonna send that to the whole Wheel and I Agree, and just be like, here's the timestamp you don't want to hear me talking about.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. None of you need to go through what I went through. Is there anything else we have to say about the bad guys? Except Puff.
I'm gonna make Puff listen to it. I'm gonna make them be like, they're gonna listen to me. They're gonna listen to me vent my fantasies.
I'm sure they'll greatly appreciate that. And then, yeah.
They
have ways of getting back at you.
Watching this, I hope you have a nice day.
Hey, Puff, the Terrifier episode. Don't worry, we'll make him do it. No, you.
Anyways. But yeah, I think we can wrap up.
Okay, good. Yeah, good. I need a shower after this. This is disgusting, depraved.
And I need to shower because I had to talk about 8 Crazy Nights again. And
Yeah.
now I feel dirty.
Disgusting. This is
It's
disgusting.
the win
This
for
show
the
is fucking
win.
off the rails. This is disgusting. We need to be better than this. So, but before we go, YINSED, please shout out your stuff, dude. Where can people find you?
Yeah, so if you are somehow not traumatized by that those last 45 minutes, you can find me on Letterboxd with the username YINSED. There's obviously my main channel where I talk about all things animation and animals, also just YINSED. And I am on Blue Sky with YINSED at Blue Sky Social if you want to follow me on there. And yeah, those are my socials if you're into that. Yeah.
Very good. Well, thanks for coming on, YINSED. Really appreciated it. And well, no, I didn't. This was a huge waste of time. What the fuck?
Sorry.
It's too late. We already recorded the episode, and that's it. It's done. Whatever. All right. Yeah, it's time to go. Bye-bye, everybody. You can say bye, too, if you want.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye.
Just